All right. So for our inaugural, we're not batting too good. I was hoping to have a group of people, but I did mention to everybody you can join the stream whenever you can join the stream. My goal was to try to do a 4 hour stream. That'll be a little bit difficult if I'm all alone, but we're going to see what we can do. So, what I want to go over is that last episode we went through the architecture. We got through most of the commands, except we skipped some of the finer points of some of those commands. All right, what's telling me I'm going live? We'll see if anyone joins in. Um, Let me get my bearings again. So we talked about how to place a wall, how to place a door, how to place a window. What I want to try to explain is I I don't know how to do this training other than to try to do it with real work. You have to treat the work as real work. Um, I think what we were talking about was hello, Eric.
Howdy.
I'm gonna take you off the screen. I'm just sort of rambling right now, so just bear with me. So now that I can try to get my composure back. So the idea that I wanted to have is a Revit online group. There's some Revit user groups. This is similar, but I wanted a place where you could get on either as a Revit user or as a younger Revit, and we could help each other out as a group. So the idea of being training with having two other experts on the line is I'm hoping that they'll, when they think of things that they had to do at that time, they can introduce those because some of those things might not even be things I know about, to be quite honest with you. So what we've been talking about is we tried to cover the whole architecture tab. And obviously we're then going to try to hit structural and steel probably late this week. And then probably let me show you those, the structural. Oh, got to click on the right screen. And then the steel, those two will pretty much we'll try to get a brief overview of, and then we're going to get into the systems. That's where we're going to be doing the HVAC. By that point, in order for us to get to annotate, we're going to have some new people who've been interested enough that can actually show us what they've drawn with those first four tabs so that we can show you the important things, which is how to annotate them. And then obviously how to create views and put them on the views. Um, and then, of course, we'll go back and we'll feed into manage and those kinds of things. So last week or Friday, we really discussed that you got to be aware of this properties box and this browser box. Now, when we were doing that work, generally with a new person, they like to have one screen open. Very rarely do I have one screen open. I typically am got, hey, Ginger,
Hey,
have you gotten a chance to draw at all?
no, sir.
All right, well, you're not going to learn if you don't draw. I'm going to be going over some of the wall commands and some of the stuff that we skipped last week off the architecture tab. So if you just want to hang in there, um, I'm just going to get into that. And then, like, probably in about a half hour, I'm going to see where we want to take this meeting by who joins. Okay. So, what I was talking about was last week or Friday when we did the walls, we just did a wall and we showed how we picked one of the wall styles. Now, I had mentioned to Tyler that I don't typically draw in a 3D view. You can draw in a 3D view. Okay. So I can be putting these walls in here, and what we'll see, it's no different, but it's just really challenging when you're first getting started on how to get those alignment points. If you notice, what I'm doing is I'm finding when that blue spot, I'm really feeling what the software is feeding back to me. There is a sweet spot. You see that thing highlight blue? That means I'm perpendicular to it. So as I was saying, for some of these more challenging ones, what I like to do is work in a dual screen, okay? So by all means, to round out last week, you don't have to go to the wall to draw a wall. You could always pick an object on your screen, right click and say create similar, and that will create the same type of object, okay? So I could close this thing out. Now, when we talk, interesting. You'll notice a lot of people would, and this what is happening to us is ironic because the water table's not meeting up correctly, which is why I recommended against those. So as I told you, I'm going to typically work in two screens. So I'll have my plan in the 3D open, and I'll typically type in WT for window tile. So you could go under views, and I think it's right out here, tile views was the same as typing in WT. But what we would find, and sometimes it helps to have this in a shaded view, but you'll see is the frustration of the very complex wall. And that particular wall is extremely complex. I will show you what it has in it. It has a sweep down here at the bottom. It has a second component for this block face. It has reveals, these three little notches in here, and then it has another sweep. And if you remember last week, if you're first starting with Revit, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how long it took me to find all that stuff. Because as a refresher, if I picked that wall and I went to edit type and I went to edit the structure, you would think that somewhere in here we could see the sweeps and the reveals, but those damn things are grayed out because you don't see them until you go to a preview and you look at a section view of that thing. Now you'll notice they're no longer grayed out. So now I could go in here and I could adjust these sweeps. You can see there's three sweeps. I missed one, this brick band at the top. All right. Then these are the three reveals that we talked about, which when I pick on them, you'll see it's that reveal. When I go to the next one, it's showing me which reveal it is. I believe you can even zoom. Okay, you can't do it while this window's open, but before you go into this window, you could zoom in. Now, I can't even begin to tell you the problems with what they've done. Okay, so it works great for the one they set up. But what happens is if you've got different brick coursing, this all falls apart and the hatching doesn't work and it just becomes a nightmare. So there's a better way to do that. So first thing I wanted to do is to show you, even though you think you can't get those walls to clean up, what you have to do is you have to pull the one wall back because it's a priority thing. So when I hit unjoin, what happens is if this one is all the way out here at the same core center line as this one, they then should clean up. You'll notice that now they clean up or sort of clean up. You can still see that little bit of that line running up there. But at the end of the day, they do clean up. Now, as I said, in the beginning, it really makes you feel like you can accomplish a lot of work. But the problem is it's very hard to control those objects. So instead, my recommendation is starting with a simpler wall, which let's say I'm going to do this brick on metal stud. That was interesting, that little shrapnel that it left behind. It's almost like it wanted to be cleaned up again. I'm curious with that. Nope, they both share the same common point. That was a little bit bizarre. I swear I can still see remnants of those reveals, and I wouldn't expect that to be the case. I don't know what's exactly causing that one. Any of you experts out there ever seen that one before? Do you see how it's got those little end caps are still sort of embedded in there?
Yeah, I find balls very frustrating
Well, I'm wonder
sometimes.
if I change to a different wall, like a generic 6-inch, which ironically, that's how I typically draw is the generic, and then I will, as I decide what kind of wall it is. Now notice when we pick that wall, if we look at where the blue dot, it's in the wall center lines. So what I might want to do is, if this is my exterior wall, what I'm doing is tabbing. I'm highlighting over a wall and I'm hitting tab so I can select all those walls. I can change those from the wall center line to the finish face exterior. So now you'll notice that when I pick on one of those things, the blue dots are out in the corners. Now, if we take and we change that wall to a different thickness wall, we're going to see it all grew towards the inside, and it's still drawn by the exterior face. Okay. Now, so that crazier wall that we were looking at, that's going to be some of those additional wall commands that we're looking for. So we see that we've got a wall sweep and a wall reveal. So we could put a wall sweep on there. And I'm going to pick these two faces, and what you're going to see is there's a simple wall sweep. Now, how does it decide how to draw that wall sweep? I'm going to go ahead and enable, because I use this quite often, the section box. You'll see it puts a box as big as my grid lines. Does anyone know how to get those level lines much more reasonable size? You should be able to pick those two level lines. This works for grid lines as well. If you right click, not in white space, but over top of one of the blue objects, there's a command called maximize 3D extents. Now, I would be willing to bet the reason it didn't maximize that is because these elevations are what are determining those 3D extents right now. So you'll see I'm just nudging these all closer to my building. You'll find that I'm so OCD, I'll even move those over so they're more like this. Now let's try that command I was telling you. Maximize 3D extents. Nope, big loser. Anyone have an idea what causes those? I do know how we can set them to a scope box, but I would have thought those would have snapped and made to a more reasonable size. But at any rate,
If you click on one of them, you can stretch the end of it, and
yes,
it'll
I
stay
know that.
locked to the other one.
You'll see that it's not locked, and now it messed it up in all my views.
I apologize. I just did it in 25, and they kept it locked in 25.
Well, see, that's the interesting thing is some of these things have been improved, but the question is whether or not those improvements are worth it. And I guess that's an important thing to discuss is understand we are working in Revit 2020. And the reason I work in Revit 2020 is because I'm one of the last people that actually owns this software. So therefore, it doesn't cost me any money to use it each month, which is why I wanted to do this training. So let me get back to this section box so I can try to finish explaining how that sweep works, because that sweep is really interesting. So I'm going to put another one, the other guy, which is a wall reveal, and I'm going to put him up there and pick. And you'll see that that cuts a box and the other one adds a box. And what we would find is if we pick the sweep and we say edit the type so that we can look at the properties, right here you'll see that this has a profile, which it uses a default, which that'd be interesting. I bet that's like a 1 foot by 1 foot or something. But you would notice if I had a parapet cap, or they probably had one down here that was a brick soldier course. And if I wanted to put 2 bricks in my soldier course, you would see that that made a piece that was 2 bricks high. However, it didn't put a material on it. So you need to put the profile and the material. And the reason I want to get into this is because I want to explain to you what a profile is. Okay. Oh, I see what's going on. This is on the wrong window, so you're not seeing it. So if I went down here, I believe it's going to be under masonry. Maybe brick soldier course. So what happens is you can actually put a sweep on the wall. Now, if I wanted to, I could take that sweep and I could add more walls. You see how it's putting that sweep right on that wall? One of the things you don't realize for a while is, well, what if I didn't want that sweep to go all that far? Now it's very easy for me to take that sweep and say that I only want that sweep to return for 1 foot of that wall. Okay, that's one of the benefits of putting an individual sweep in there. Another benefit is, so I wanted to show you the profile. So if we went to this view, let's see here, and we said file, and we did a new, oh, no, not a new project. File, new, family. All right, where is it at? It's on my 3rd screen. If we bring it over here, we could say, give me a new profile. Right? That's just going to give you these 2 crosshairs like every family has to have, except for maybe title blocks, but we'll get into that later. If I draw any shape, if I draw a 6-inch object that comes out here 2.5, comes down a little bit, comes out at a 45, comes down a little bit more, draws a little bit of an arc, and closes that. Okay. Now you're going to find as we go through these lessons, I generally don't name the families until they're working for me. So I just load this guy into the project. I realize his name was family 1 because he's the first family. So that means if I went to edit type and looked at my profile, I should find a family 1. And that would be that shape. And you would see, okay. So now the benefit is, if I come back here and say, oh, well, wait a second, maybe I want this mirrored, don't make a copy, to go that way and load it into the project. Now I have it going the right way. And then maybe I'm doing architectural design and say, well, that should have much more of an accent, and then load that into the project. Okay. So you can see that once I've named that and I say, oh, that's the beautiful cornice that I wanted, then is when I name it. And the way that I would name it is I would go to my families. I would go down to my profiles, and I would see that family 1. And I would name that guy. You could name it anything, but I'm going to name him my cornice. All right. Now, what if I wanted to have 2 different cornices, one with that long and one with it short? So maybe I'm going to name this guy. If I come back in here and I say from here to there, this is going to be I'm going to make that 9 inches. That's going to be my 9-inch cornice. And all I'm going to do that is say, edit not my witness line. Right next to that, there's this button that allows me to assign it a parameter. I could say cornice height. I'm going to be lazy and just call it the height. Now, when I load this into my project, oh, I know what happened. All right, what happened, and I've done this before, is because this guy was, I renamed it already, and that's where I said I don't typically rename them. So I'm going to delete that family one. I'm going to copy this name family one, paste it back to where I was at Cornice, and then when I load it, it will work. See, it should have told me to overwrite that. When I do, if you would have noticed, it came up a little bit right there at this corner. Now, to prove that, what I could do is now look at family one, because I'm going to write one of them is going to be my 9-inch. When I double click on it, you would see it says 9-inch. Now, I might duplicate that and say I need another cornice that 12 inches. And you'll see if I make this 1 foot, what happens is now that sweep, I got 2 different ways to do it. One is what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and front view, and I'm going to copy this up a little bit. And you're going to see there's another advantage of having those things individually done is because you can copy that band and you can move that band. But if I was going to make that my 12-inch, you would see that if I said edit type, this was the 9-inch. Is it not? Oh, I typed something wrong. Let's see. 9-inch. And when I double click on it, it says 9 inches. When I double click on my 12-inch, it says 12 inches. So if I take this guy and I edit the type and duplicate it, call this my 12-inch cornice, and say that I'm going to use the cornice type 12-inch, you'll now see that I've got 2 different heights. Okay, I made that profile parametric by going to that dimension in it. Now, okay, so I showed you a little bit, and we'll get more into making things parametric. What I want you to understand is in this type of family, when I go to create, you'll notice there's no create, extrude, a revolve. No, instead, all you can do in this one is put detail components in it and put lines. And when you make a profile, the lines need to go around in a circle and close. Now I'll be interested. Eric, you still keeping up with me? Do you got a profile? Eric, you there? You walked away.
Yes, I'm here, but I'm not kept up on the screen. Sorry.
All I wanted you to see is that can you do that to your profile? Can you do a loop profile on a sweep? Did they fix that in 2025? Oh, forget it. It works.
Wow.
Okay.
Cool.
So it actually worked back then. Also, you could, you could take this thing and go like this. Humor me for a second. Oh, that's the one I want gone. Nope. Yeah, that's not the one. Yep, that's the one I want gone. This one comes back to here. As I said, the trick of a profile is it has to be a closed shape. And I don't believe that it warns you if it's not a closed shape. It just causes the things to not work so good. But you could
There
see.
used to be a warning, and at one point in time, there used to be a warning.
Yeah, I sort of thought there was too.
Maybe they got rid of the warning because they thought they fixed the problem.
Any route, what we're after is these wall sweeps and reveals, and understand you can take this, do the same thing with the reveal. The only thing you can't do, the sweep and the reveal, the only difference is The sweep allows you to apply a material, but you could apply a crazy shape to a reveal as well. And you'll see it actually cuts that crazy shape from your wall. Okay. So that might be a way to be putting maybe that's something that you're interested in doing, or you might be able to capitalize on it a little bit more. But the gist of it is, I wanted to get you through underneath the walls. We have wall sweeps and wall reveals, and that will let you build something a little bit more like that very difficult wall that we started with, the one that was, let's see, what was his name? He's at the top of the list. That exterior brick on metal stud, which is a very complicated guy. So the next thing that I wanted to get into, because I think it's easier to do it than it is to walk someone through it. And then part of the reason of that is I'm going to be working on this face right here. Is we thought that curtain systems and curtain grids and mullions, you would think that that's something you're trying to put in. The trick is the curtain system by face is making one of these crazy curtain wall panels, which I'll be honest with you, unless you're working for one of the real fancy architects, the average building is not going to have that. But the way a curtain wall works, which eludes you in the beginning, is you just go to a wall. Okay. And if you've used that standard template, the architectural template, what you're going to find is underneath your wall styles, down at the bottom, we're going to have a curtain wall one, an exterior glazing, and a storefront. And I'm going to start with the storefront one, and I'm going to show that if I just draw like that, look at that. That's the beauty of a curtain wall. It's a wall. Now it is automatically getting embedded in that other wall, so it's automatically cutting. And what most people are going to instinctively think, oh, this is a window, window, window. Instead, what you've got is a wall. Now, how did it do that? If I copy that wall, we're going to find it's automatically cutting it. Now, if I draw the curtain wall one, let's see, curtain wall one, and I draw it over top, you're going to see it gives you a little error warning. And what it's saying is that particular type of wall is not cutting automatically. So if I go under edit type, is that where it's at? Yep, right here is called automatically embed. Okay, so what's happening is the storefront type automatically embeds. If I was to set the curtain wall one to automatically embed, I'll be interested if it will actually do it. It did. Or if you say, no, I only want to embed it in things I know, here's what's embed. And it's sort of ironic because this is why you get it confused, is you just go to the modify, and that word right there should be embed, but it's cut. So if I use cut, it's either cut or join. I think it's cut. If I do cut, that's the same as automatically embedding that curtain wall. Okay. Now, what this curtain wall does, the difference between these two curtain walls, and I would think that both Eric and Misty would both agree to this. It is so frustrating to figure out how these curtain walls work. It really is frustrating. But what happens is, go ahead, Misty. Did you have anything?
No.
Okay. This type curtain wall is fully driven. That means it's being told what type of border, what type of mullion, what type of spacing. All of that stuff is controlled by the type, which means that when I pick on it, and this is the hard part about a curtain wall, is if you don't understand your tab button, you can't work on a curtain wall because you're like, okay, I get it. I can pick the wall and I can pick the curtain wall. I can pick the wall and I can pick the curtain wall. And if you're really good, you don't have to use the tab. You could find, oh, look at that. I can pick that mullion. I can pick that mullion. Okay. But you'll notice those things are all pinned because we said they're all driven by the style. So that's where sometimes it's nice to take this curtain wall and to say, change it to curtain wall 1, and it's going to ask us a question. It's going to say, well, curtain wall 1 doesn't have automatic grid lines. Curtain wall 1 doesn't have automatic mullions. I'm going to say, not delete grid line, delete mullions. I'm just going to say, okay, I know that. See, what that now allows me to do is I can pick this mullion, right? And I could change this mullion if there's another size one. I can make a little thin mullion, right? More importantly, if you know how to use your tab, you'll see on a curtain wall, first one's the wall, second one's the mullion, third one's the curtain grid. And then I could say, oh, this is 2 feet away from that one. Also, I don't want this mullion at the bottom because this is actually going to be a door. And maybe I don't want this mullion here. Let's see. Tab. I could delete that mullion. Now, what you can also do when you start getting better, you could pick that grid line and you can add and remove segments. So I could remove that segment and that segment of that curtain wall. It says, oh, there's a curtain wall on there, and I just say, or a mullion on there, and I just say delete that. So now what really is unique, and we're going to get into this because we're actually going to use this curtain wall for so many things you can't even imagine. And that is the unique thing is what most people don't know is this mullion right here. When I change it back to the adjoining one, it joins with it. It cleans up between the two. It's still the two separate mullions, but you'll notice that it cleans up. That's going to be real interesting when we get into some casework and stuff. So what I'm trying to show you is with what a curtain wall is, how we really do a curtain wall. Now, what their idea was, if you use curtain wall 1, and then they'll show you some crazy stuff and say, did you know you could edit the profile of a wall? And did you know you could take it and do this? And a lot of times when people were doing this, you do this in elevation and it might be easier. But now all of a sudden your curtain wall can look like that. And then what we might be able to do is underneath architecture, we might put a couple, not that one, curtain grids. And now we come in here. Yep. I can put a curtain grid there and a curtain grid there, and I could come down here, and then I could put one at my window height. Actually, or my door height. That last one is my door height. Maybe I got one here so I can make these metal panels. And then I can go in and I can put mullions, and I can put my 2.5, and I can say, put that on all my grid lines. And now I've made that kind of curtain wall. Okay. Now I can see that this actual condition right here might not be the most optimum. So maybe I pick that and move that up a little bit so it cleans up better. It's saying that it wants to delete that one little one. That's how we do curtain walls. And a lot of times curtain walls can even be more powerful than that. So I'm going to show you another way to do a curtain wall. Let's say this back wall has a beautiful view of the lake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a curtain wall 1 as an arc from here to here. Oh, yeah, that's it. And what my radius is. And you say, yeah, that didn't work so good. Well, because there's only one grid line, as I start to put more grids in, see, I can do this in this plan view as well, right? As I put more grid lines in, that glass will curve. Now, if I put a grid line here and a grid line here, what I can then do is some real crazy stuff. Hold on a second. I got to invite Tyler in. Tyler, how you doing?
Good.
You feeling all right?
Head still pounding a little, but it's not as bad as it was.
So what we've discussed was the things that I told you I'd get back to, which is the wall sweep and wall reveal. And right now I'm doing some curtain walls. So what happens is when you start to get good at curtain walls, then you start seeing them a little bit differently, like as in down here. Let's see if I tab and I pick one curtain wall panel, I could say select all the panels along this horizontal grid, all the ones at the bottom. And since what can be inside a curtain wall is two things, either a curtain wall panel, which we might write a custom one for, or another wall. Okay, so this is where I'm trying to tell you that things can get real interesting real quick. Okay, so what happens is if you then copy this, so I could do the same thing at the top, and maybe I put another wall style on it, select all panels along horizontal grid. And that, like I said, this is so video game-ish. Eric, Misty, how long did it take you to really get good at curtain walls? Anyone?
I don't know. I just remember.
I think it was a couple years before I really was.
I think it will depend on how much curtain walls are in your daily tasks. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So if you were working on something that was a very glass heavy building, then you got pretty good at them, because you're doing it so repetitively.
Well, one of the reasons and that's why I don't like to bring those curtain walls up in my first early lesson, is because the unique thing about the curtain walls is they're extremely powerful, and they got much more powerful in Revit 2025. Okay. The reason being, it goes back to where we started with the wall sweeps. If I come in here and I pick this guy and I say edit the type and I duplicate that type, and I'm just going to name it gibberish, and I come down here to profile and I go to the family one, a weird profile, those are now allowing you to draw double loops. Before you couldn't draw that double loop like we had talked about. Eric, you with me? So you can actually draw a true extruded profile for a mullion in 2025, 15 years after Autodesk bought the software.
But what does that do to your file size when you do the extruded piece in detail?
I don't know, but you got to understand what we're going to be pushing real quick. One of our classes in the last week is going to be showing you how to frame a building, the ceilings, with curtain walls. So please check back in 2 weeks, because we are going to show someone how to do all this framing, not in AutoCAD, making a miserable nightmare file, but instead we're going to do that with a curtain wall. And just to prove out the theory, what I'm looking at is if we took and we did that last curtain wall style, right, the storefront one, we just drew a free one. Guess it doesn't even matter if it's at an angle. We took him and we said edit type, duplicate, and we called this studs. Probably call it studs at 16 inches in center. And we want the layout, the vertical grid, to be a fixed distance, 16 inches, right? And it's going to have the vertical mullions be those, and for the horizontals, we're going to do none, none. Those would actually end up, to be honest with you, we're going to try to make those be a sill plate and a header plate, you know, the receiving plate to it. And the fixed distance, we're going to put none in it. So what happens is it asks me to delete those grid lines and put those in at 16 inches on center, right? So now all a person would have to do is take and pick all of those grid lines, right? If I went to my filter, oh, I see why you're not seeing it. It's on the other screen. And I said, just my curtain wall grids. Now, granted, you would have to unpin all of those because those are by style. This is where we want one to place it in, and then the second one. And to do that, to unpin those, I'm going to prove this out. To unpin those, all you would need to do is change this to your free stud or curtain wall 1. And when we get this question, we say, don't delete those grids. Now, when we pick those grids, filter, check none, curtain wall grids, okay. What you could actually do is if you found those, you could change where your studs started. You see how I'm marching those studs in one direction or another? So you could have them pull from the same location. What's then going to happen is then we're going to come in here and you would be able to, you know how they need to frame out where a duct goes through a wall? Let me check. I think Tyler might have dropped off. Yep, he dropped off. We'll put him back on there in case he's got something to say. When we go to that add a curtain grid, you can do just one segment so that you could frame out an area. Now, if that thing was automatically putting in studs as horizontal mullions, then it would have actually put the studs in there. But we would then go pick, if not, you go pick the mullion and add those. Now, does that make sense to you, Eric, as a way to stud that thing? I think they would fall in love if they saw that.
Absolutely.
And I think it would even work if you go wall, right? And we want to change this to the one that was called studs. Even if you got a stud wall. Now you would see that the studs edit type, the panel, curtain wall panel, should be none, right? Because there's nothing in there. Which means now you'd have to go pick, filter, check none, all those curtain wall panels, and you could delete them. And you not delete them. You can change them to empty. So that's actually what we want to do is we want to put those in there as empty. And now you could frame studs. Okay. Now the reason it's worthwhile to learn all this is there's another creature just like a curtain wall. Okay. And that is, what if I want to do a horizontal surface like that? Well, to do a horizontal surface, what we do is we go to underneath roof. Nope, I'm sorry. It's an actual roof. We say, sure, you put it at level 2. If we go under roof styles, you have the same thing called sloped glazing. Okay. The only difference is this is a flat surface. Now, the reason he's going like that is because if I edited the footprint, you would see this shape defines a slope. Finish. Now it's a flat piece of glass laying on its side. If I came in here and I put some curtain grids in here, whether it's to make myself a sloped roof or a skylight or whatever it is, I can then put my mullions on, all grid lines. You'll see this object is just like the curtain wall glazing, sloped glazing and curtain walls. And I think that's how you could do all of that framing that they had to do. That was such a nightmare to do in AutoCAD. But more importantly, most people think it couldn't be done in Revit. So that was a long-winded 45 minutes on curtain walls. I would love to hear any discussion, any questions, any ideas. Somebody say something.
I got
Can you hear
nothing.
me? Yeah. I use curtain walls. You taught me in the way past to use cabinetry. We do curtain walls and cabinetry, but
Yeah, we've made curtain wall out of cabinetry. You can, and like I said, we are going to have a curtain wall class that will absolutely blow your mind on all of that kind of stuff in the last week of this. But I wanted to get to the point where I could discuss, because we skipped mullions, curtain grid, and curtain system. Like I said, 20 years I haven't used a curtain system. I don't do a lot of mass modeling. I've worked for architects, engineers of all types and shapes. I just haven't ever used the curtain system by face. And I haven't ever used the wall by face. Those two are very similar, and I'm not going to get into them because even though Revit has this pretty weird shaped building, when you start Revit up, I've never worked on a building that looked like that. Most of my buildings, and I have worked on some fancy hospitals that have some fancy systems in them, but I've never had to use those. Eric, Misty, have you ever had to use those?
No.
no.
And I think I found they don't work all that great. I've followed people in discussion groups. So I am going to absolutely skip those two. Now, when we were talking about the roof, today we went over the walls, the wall sweep and the wall reveal. There's like a twin brother or a close cousin of those. All right. And that's going to be on a roof. Well, we don't have a roof, so let's go ahead and make us a roof. And as we talked about yesterday, if you're working smart, what you want to do is relate these back to the walls. Okay. Now, it was important where I picked that because it's going, these do not extend to the core, so these are going out to the face, but this would allow me to flip. See how they all the way around the building went to the inside. If that was a flat roof and I had a cornice up there, that might be what I would need. And then I would take all of these guys. Oh, what do I got? A warning going on somewhere? Oh, it's still in the select walls. This is where I hit escape 2 times. I
You're
could
also
pick
not
all of.
closed on the radius.
I saw that. Thank you, though. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip that thing back around. As Eric said, I'm going to delete this one. Extend those around. Say finish. It's asking me, would I like those walls to automatically be attached to the top? I typically answer no to this. If I want them attached to the top, I will tell you I want them attached to the top. The way I do that is I pick a wall and I say I want to attach this one and I want to attach this one, and I manually attach mine to the walls. Okay. Now, what I'd like to be able to do is I like to be able to adjust that thing up. But one of the things I really would like to do is when I go edit that footprint is to pick all those walls and give them an overhang right here of maybe 1.5 feet. And what that's going to do, I say no again. I wish Revit wouldn't ask me that every time. Now, part of the reason that that's having a hard time around that curve is that it wasn't a really friendly curve. But where I was going with this was the cousin of the wall sweep and the wall reveal is going to be the roof fascia, right? Because what I can do with the fascia is I can, let's see, I must have messed that up. Try that again. Roof fascia. And then I pick that edge and you'll see it put that shape in there. Well, if I go grab my friendly shape that I had already created, which means I can create any one of them. Nope, not material. This one here. Right there, you're going to see that family one. That's 12 inches. I could put any shape I want. Now, when I want to continue it, I can say add segments. As I tried to show you with the curtain wall, a very surprising thing happens. And that is, if I don't add segments, and instead I place a new one, create similar, what I didn't know forever is just like the curtain wall mullion, this guy is very smart. Okay? If two pieces, two of these profiles meet each other, they will miter. They will clean up. You wouldn't think that would be the case, but it absolutely is the case. Okay? And then the fella that's just like him is underneath. I mean, it's just so identical. I wonder why they even do it, because understand, I can put a roof fascia on any roof, and we'll do this as well. One of the things we'll do is people will say, "Well, Brian, I've got a metal roof. I need a ridge cap for it." Well, if I can put that shape on the top, I can put a ridge cap on it. So believe me, we can put a ridge cap. We can do what you want to do with those. So what you can put that roof fascia on a roof, but did you guys know you could put a roof fascia on a fascia? So that means if I pick here and I say roof fascia, I can actually put another one on this guy and another one on him as well. So you can put multiple levels of fascia. Now that, which I found that is very powerful to know that when you're trying to do these built up types and the difference between the rake end and the eve end, it really is beneficial to know that you can put a fascia on a fascia. But then the last one is a roof gutter you can put on there as well. And you'll see that thing, if I was to, let's see, look at this from a pure view, I could make that gutter be right where I wanted it to be. And I could chase that gutter around my, which would be, you just pick this and you say add segments. Like I said, it's like the twin or the close cousin of the other command. But notice if I put it up here, now I've just done something that's going to make my model very hard to work with, is I've got two different heights. So I shouldn't have put that one on there. What I should have done, add remove segments. That is a little bit tricky to get rid of. Remember, you have the ability to grab their end conditions. Oh, and now I put another one on there. Oh, yeah, that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare.
You must have 10 of them top of each other.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of a hole. You could leverage it. What I would want you to realize is when you go in there and do that roof gutter, you would put this one and then over here on your higher one, you would say restart better. So this and this were not part of the same piece. Okay. Do you see how they're separate? Bottom line is, the last one I'm going to let you to do. So we covered the wall, sweep, and reveal. Now we just covered the roof, fascia, and the gutter. You'll see there's that roof by face, as we talked about, just like the curtain wall by face. Those are the ones we're going to avoid. And then, please, Misty, Eric, have you ever used the roof soffit?
I might have, but I don't.
I'm
know.
sure I played with it to try and figure it
Yeah.
out, but I don't remember utilizing it and making it work.
I usually use a ceiling to do that because it's so close to the ceiling. But who knows? Maybe we can kick its tires again to see exactly what it does. I have, in all the years, never really used the roof soffit. Maybe once or twice I tried it and just didn't get great results. Okay. So you would be saying to yourself, hey, if there's a ceiling, I'm going to bring up this fella, right? Wouldn't it be nice if there was a ceiling so that when you had this weird shape with this bar, you could just go, oh, I know, I want to use a roof. I want to do a ceiling profile. So of course, Brian, there should be a ceiling. Wait, there's no arrow underneath ceiling. How do I put my crown molding or my cornice or my funky little light bar on those ceiling edges? And it's why people don't know how to do it, because Autodesk didn't give you one for ceiling in all these years. They did give you one for floors. Okay. They gave you a floor slab edge. Okay. Now, Tyler, when we did the floors the other day, right, there's a structural floor under there, and that became real important. I believe that came out in about 2013, if I remember correctly. If anyone knows better, feel free. But what that one did, oh, those top two lines are meaning to me again. Just so you know, I did a double escape to get out of that command. When you're in the select walls, you will just keep selecting the walls and driving yourself nuts. Now, what happens with this guy, unfortunately, you would hope, if I do a section, there used to be a way to tell which one of these it was. It was either that one or the other one. Let's find out. And you don't see it until you're in a detail mode. And you got to make sure that floor slab is not a generic, but instead is a concrete on metal deck. Okay. What that did, so I'm cutting the wrong direction. So if I took my section and I rotated it, and I cut through there, I know we all celebrated when this happened. Oh, well, maybe not.
You're gonna get a turn or something special?
I don't know why. Why is that not showing? Let me go back to the plan view. One of these shows which way that deck spans.
I think when you're in the edit mode, it does, right? For the floor.
Let me try it again. Floor, structural floor. I'm just going to go freehand sketch my floor, because I've got a little floating slab at about 10 feet, let's say. The one to recognize is, you see that line right there? That's the line that the structure is going to be supported by. So if I say finish, I know it's at the same place. I get it. but I'm going to move this up to 8 feet. Is now when we go into that section view and we change him to the deck. Oh, why? Edit, edit. This is the one right here. Then you have to go preview and section. Oh, help me, someone. Why
What
am
were
I
you
not?
doing? Are you, I'm sorry.
I'm
what were you
trying to
doing
show
again?
trying to show the metal deck.
Oh, maybe that would that be the profile in this section? You had that, right?
Yeah, but I'm not seeing it in here.
But you know what? I always remember someone doing the metal deck, and they did the metal deck, and they used a profile with it, and that
No, you can add it
not
to
like
it, but
that.
I don't know where the setting is.
In
I'm
their
pretty sure
properties.
you
So
can add it to it.
yeah, because I remember him picking that
That's a good one.
profile.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's homework for everyone. For the next session, see if you can figure out how to get the metal deck to show. For Tyler and Ginger, what's going to happen on that metal deck is what we're going to be looking at is something like this, because this is how poor people do this. They actually draw it and they're sitting in their company and they're like, I don't know, but there's got to be an easier way to do it. There's actually a metal deck that goes like this waffle pattern. And that was what I was trying to show you. And I will tell you, I'm pretty sure what you've got to do is you've got to do that underneath floor.
I think it's in
as
the
a-
browser. In the browser.
I think it's just a bad style. I don't
Really?
think that's the right one. Wasn't there a roof deck? Here's one right here, lightweight aha! I was right.
Is it in the material?
No, they slipped you a Mickey. What they said was lightweight concrete on metal deck, and the other one we picked was a 3-inch lightweight concrete on metal deck. They left an old family type, because when we look underneath this guy, watch what we're going to see. When we go to that same spot and we go to a section, look what you got down here. You have the ability.
Yeah, that's what I knew. There was a chart, but I was thinking it was the preview thing that this is similar to the wall thing, but you already have that out.
Yep. And you see right there is where you can pick what kind of deck, and that deck is actually driven by a profile. So if we went, this all sort of ties back. It's why I wrap all these together, is back in our profiles. One of these things was that deck. Did you remember what the heck it said? Let's see. This thing, edit type, edit the structure, form deck right there. So that's how it drew that thing. If you wanted to know what that family was, you could edit that family. And this is what that family looks like. And notice this profile is not the same as the other profiles where it's closed. It's a free open profile. And I think if you go VV, you can turn all your dimensions and your reference planes on. And that's generally how I work with it. This is how that profile is driven. Obviously, here we would end up changing the scale to something more like this, maybe even a little bit smaller, so that we can read. I don't want you to be scared away. You will eventually write parametric families like this one. But I wanted you to at least be available to understand that if you want to draw that waffle pattern under a deck, you can do it. Now, the reason let's go over why the floor slab doesn't work and the structural slab does. Because when I draw a floor, right, floor architectural, and I'm just going to draw this square architectural, it's a lie. I bet you can use a floor as well, because it has this. This is what it took me a long time to understand. That is the span direction right up here. So if I didn't like where I had that span direction, I could pick this and come down and pick this line, and that would change and move that metal deck to go in that direction. I'll be honest, I bet you, let's see if it's total, if this works. Rotate this 90 degrees, change this to it should work. I will take back the fact that I said that you had to do it as a structural floor. If I go cut that section, yep, you don't have to do it as a structural floor. You can do it as a floor or a structural floor. But understand, this is a floor and this is a floor. Both floors. This has rebar ability. That's the difference. That's the difference. Is a architectural floor will notice has no ability to do rebar unless I turn it to a structural floor. No, that's not true. There's no rebar available. When I pick a structural floor, now I can have my rebar and my cover and that information. Let's see. I enable that and enable that. That's what's the difference between the two, whether or not they can host rebar. Okay. So if you're wondering, well, what's the difference between those two floors? The difference is an architectural floor you can't put rebar into, and a structural floor you can. And as I was saying to you earlier, the brother of the wall sweep for a floor looks like that, right? And I'm going to do something else very neat with this one. So what that did was that put that turn down on there, right? Let's see if I take this weights off. Good. Maybe go to a little bit larger scale. So if I take this and I change this to a concrete floor, if anyone's ever, well, do we have just a concrete? We don't. So we're going to go from a 12-inch generic. I'm going to say okay with that, leave that stuff joined. I want to make a new style. All right, my new style is going to be 4-inch concrete on slab on grade. We say okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to say, oh, okay, we're saying that this is actually concrete. Understand, I'm actually just, now I'm going to look at this very closely. This is going to be a cast in place. We're going to see that it has some hatching. I like all that. That's all good. The only thing that I didn't like was this 4-inch. We'll make it 4-inch. And we'll say okay and okay. Okay, so a slab on grade, typically that concrete turns down at the edge. If you don't understand anything about construction, we don't just pour that concrete 4 inches all the way out to the edge. We have to give it some strength and possibly put some rebar in it. Does anyone know why that slab footing is not joining up with this slab? They're actually joined. If I go to modify,
They're not the same material.
very good. Very good.
I needed that so bad last week. And that's just the floor style?
That's anything. Listen, anything. If we put something in a wall and join it with the wall, if it has the same material, it'll wrap right around. So if we took this style of this turn down footing, and right here where it says material, we said this was that same cast in place gray. And you make me so happy in what you say, Misty, because that's the whole gist. I needed that last week. Do you see how that will let that show correctly? If the two objects are the same material. Okay? I'm pretty sure the other thing we didn't discuss last week, they have the ability to put model text in your project. I really recommend it. I recommend if you're going to have some model text that you put that into a family and then put the family into your project. But the way model text works is simply we hit model text and it's going to ask us to put this on a plane. And if I was going to say pick a plane, I could come over here and I could put it on this surface up here. I could put my name or the company name, say okay, and voila. Now, obviously, it picked the back side of that surface. So that means maybe I go -6 inches. Will it accept that? So I need to be a little bit more accurate on which, funny enough, that's the last two that we didn't, the last tail that we didn't discuss, which is the set plane and show plane. Oh, I thought reference planes were on the first tab. We did cover the levels and the grids. Yeah. So the only other thing you really need to know on this guy is this set plane. Okay. And typically that's more for a 3D view. So how do we set this plane? If we set this plane and say, you're going to see that it's coming in at level 1, I could change that to level 2. You can see the blue shape is moving up to level 2. And what would happen is now, if I was to put an object in, it might look like that's down on the floor, but you're actually, oh, it's going to turn me into a liar. For some reason it ran it to level 1. See how up there's level 2. So I think what you could do is set that plane. I would have thought that was going to come in at that. Model text. Okay. Set the plane. No. Don't prove me into a liar. See, before it asked me to pick the plane. Set. Pick. That puts it up on that face. Perfect. Okay, so now we can unshow. That means if I put in a piece of model text, it should be on that angle up there. I don't really know that I like changing that plane. I found that when I change that plane, then what happens is when I go to draw something, see, theoretically, if you put in a piece of furniture right now, it should come in on that upper plane, but it's not. It's coming in on level 1. That's why, because it's a level hosted family. All right, so what if I go back to model text? Did it change that plane back to level 1? Nope. Don't really know the benefits of having to set that plane. I do know that on the project we were working on that someone set it to the service level and then everything was being drawn to the service level. Pretty sure that covers the architecture tab. I'm open for any questions, any ideas from anyone, but I'd like to hear something from Ginger and Tyler. So if you guys would unmute for a moment, if you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can go back and catch the beginning of it. You didn't miss that much so far. I do see one private chat. Who hit me up with a private chat?
That was me.
That was you. I like you using that. Minimum PC requirements.
From what I Googled, it looks like just 32 gigs of RAM and a decent processor.
Video card, video card, video card, video card is what I would say. Eric, Misty,
I don't know anything about that.
there you go. I like
you
that.
you always hook me up.
I used to know a lot about that. I know a lot less about it now. But when I got my machine 2 years ago, I just got a gaming machine at Best Buy, and it's only bogged out on me a couple of times.
9 times out of 10, the problem with working on Revit is not going to be the computer. Even the most dirt cheap computer you go out and buy right now is probably 10 times better than the computer I had for the first 5 years of using Revit. And I made a lot of money the first 5 years of using Revit. Okay. In other words, I couldn't have bought one that good in 2006, right? Would you go to the store and spend the cheapest amount for? My recommendation is you're probably going to want to be in a price market range of about $1,200 to $1,800. That's probably what you're going to want to spend. And then you're probably going to want to pair that up with a 42-inch 4K TV, which should only be about a couple $100. So for your computer and your monitor, you should be at less than a $2,000 investment.
And make sure you're running 4K HDMI cords as well, or off of the new C, whatever.
We would be glad to help you through all that, but help me with the math. Why am I telling you that you can buy your computer and your hardware for less than $2,000? Yet answer me this question: how much does Revit cost you in 1 year just to rent?
$360 a month.
$360 a month, or approximately $3,000 a year. Why is it you're spending 1.5 times the price of the hardware for the software? Someone's upside down here. Okay. And that's part of the reason that I wanted to have these meetings like this, because I want to be able to tell the truth and not the Autodesk story. And the Autodesk story is you should buy a business class machine. You should be spending, the average company, Ginger, is probably spending about $3,000 to $4,000 on a computer. My recommendation, if you want to go to Wally World and get one, just get the gaming machine. Okay. You could do a little bit better by ordering it online, a gaming machine with a good video card. I recommend the NVIDIA video cards. However, Tyler, have you had any problems? Don't you have the, what's the other video card?
So mine is an NVIDIA. The only
Okay.
thing is my processor, instead of being Intel, is AMD, and I definitely wish I went Intel. And the only issue I'm having is overheating.
Gotcha.
It gets really hot really fast.
If you're prepared to do it soon, I believe Amazon Prime is running, or Amazon is running a summer Black Friday in the next couple of days.
They will be having the back to school specials, but I will tell you, you can't buy your way into doing Revit. You have a computer. What you need to do first is justify that purchase, and you should be able to do that within the next 3 weeks by using the computer that you have. Okay. Right. And both Ginger and Tyler, did you have any luck in getting 2020 running?
Yes, I made a new account with a new email.
Oh, that is awesome. We're gonna have a special breakout session on that, because you're gonna explain to Eric what you had to do, and then Eric's gonna be very happy because he can use the 2020 again. And let me tell you my theory on the 2020. Autodesk 2020 is no longer supported by, or Revit 2020 is no longer supported by Autodesk. So the question becomes, can they really do anything? And that's a question that, listen, we're going to end up with a lot of questions. I have some architects I want to join these meetings, and there's architectural questions I want to ask as far as who owns the drawings. Because I'll be honest with you, right now, most architectural offices, they put a little stamp on their drawings and they say that they own the drawings, but they can't own the drawings because they've agreed to what Autodesk says, which says that Autodesk owns the drawings.
If you're in 360, correct?
I'm, like I said, we're going to save these for probably Friday drinking sessions where we can get on our soapbox and argue a little bit. For now, what I want to do is I want to go to the next tab, and I want Tyler to be sharing his screen so we can do exactly as we did on Friday, which is an hour session. You guys, all your mics are open. I need to go get a Pepsi. Does anyone want to share their screen? Or do you guys just want to keep an open talk going and give me 5 minutes?
I'm progressing coffee. Hey,
You're gonna take a break at the same time. Everyone's gonna take a break.
Brian, I was actually going to go ahead and run my errand quick if that's cool. I'll be back in about 40 minutes.
That'll be fine. That'll be fine.
All right.
Tyler, get your Revit 2020 open.
Okay.
You and Ginger, you better be prepared to draw as much as I talk. That's all I'm asking. A fair swap. If I'm going to talk for 4 hours, you need to mess around and draw for 4 hours. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fine.
Ginger?
Yes, that's fair.
All right, then I'm going to do this thing. We're going to work real hard. We're going to get you guys, we'll get you guys making money on this thing by the time we're at the end of this sessions. And I know the agreement I already made with you, so but I do need you to draw. Tyler, I'm not seeing your share screen. You better have a better house that drawn than what I've got drawn in this first 15 minutes.
I had some issues I was actually going to ask you about. I think I have 3 files, and 2 of them are in 2025 because I was playing with that.
That's fine. That's fine. That's why we want to get you sharing the screen. But my hope is to go through the structure. And I'm not going to get into all the finer parts of the structure. I'm going to sort of do it like we did with the architecture. And then the steel, I'm a little bit weak on because they've added that since I really worked for any structural engineers. Oh, awesome. There's a share screen.
Which one was this? I don't think it was a house on 2020 I was drawing. No.
You must have drew that.
I drew it. It's not a house, though. That's what I was saying.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. You at least played with some of the stuff. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Did you put the rooms in?
So this is more like a shop. As you can see, it's got 4.
Listen. We have to put the rooms in because the rooms are so valuable for more information. Number 1, documentation. Labeling. I know you just got an office, a bathroom, and a 2-bay garage, or whatever you want to call that.
Right.
You could put those names in. That's just something that we do. That's it. That you just go down to the rooms. Oh, you got a tag on. I think. Yep, that's it. Yep. It's already tagged them. You see how as soon as you hit escape 2 times, then you would just click on the name.
Well, I can't really separate that.
Yes, you can. How would you do that? I'm trying to push you because we want to get those things to stick. What you would need to do, nope, escape 2 times so we get back to the architectural tab. Look right before. That's it. That's it. Now you would just draw that down the middle of the bays, right? Yep. That's it. Now you're going to find that when you pick on that, it actually went to the other side. You see the red? You see the red?
Gotcha.
And that's why it didn't know what it was. Now, if you put one more room in on the other side, then you can put bay 2. The reason I'm being such a hard ass about you putting this stuff in is because if you build this stuff in 3D, there's a lot of people think they know how to do Revit because they can model something in 3D. That isn't what Revit's for. Revit is for documenting it so that other people can understand what you're wanting to build. Okay? Misty had a very cute story about someone in her office had drawn all this stuff in 3D and then went out to the field and said, they didn't build anything the way that I said to build it. Well, that's more than likely because they didn't document it. They didn't get it on drawings because if the people in the field have to build it and there's not a document telling them what to do, they will put that pipe in. They will put that duct in. They'll just guess at where the heck it goes. Does that make sense? So the only other thing when you orbit it up to the bottom, you did put a slab on there. Why don't you go ahead and put that slab edge on there so we can at least, you can repeat the steps that I just did. Okay. So to put that slab edge on there, what I would be doing is I would probably go down to the glasses, the sunglasses at the bottom, and I would say isolate object or isolate element to get that thing in a little bit more of a 3D view. And now I'd go into the floor command. Underneath the floor command is a turn down or a floor slab edge. And if you just went right around the edge and picked all the edges.
Of course, the bottom edge, because I just did that. I just had to make that.
Pick the bottom. She said pick the bottom edge. And now what you would find is if you cut a section or you looked at it from below, you would actually see you have a turned down slab on there.
Right.
Okay. So for where we are, you're pretty good.
Yeah, kind of just made it look like a little Jiffy Lube for now.
Now, how would they actually build that Jiffy Lube?
Well, I need to make sure that is the concrete that has rebar because I did it in architectural, not structural.
No. That's not where I'm going with it. How would you build the thing that holds up the roof? Are you thinking, were you envisioning that there would be load-bearing walls and the roof would sit on the concrete walls? Or do you think that would be a metal building?
Yeah, it's going to be metal. It's not going to be brick.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I'm going because that's what we could actually do next, which is going to be the structural tab. Okay.
And also, I was hoping to put a flat roof, but I didn't really know how to do that because you need.
Go into that
ceiling.
roof. Go into that roof. Say edit the footprint. Nope, edit the footprint. It's on the toolbars across the top. It's the last one. That's called the contextual menu. The tab turns green when you select on it. So now you would pick all of those purple lines. You could do that with a tab. That would work. And pick. You got to pick in order to have them. And then right now, up is going to be define slope. There you go. That took all those little things off there, and now it would be a flat roof.
Okay.
But let me tell you something. Most flat roofs aren't going to be flat.
They got to have some kind of slope for water to.
Correct. So real interesting about that roof is if you double click on the roof, that's going to basically say roof and edit footprint. So now you don't have to remember to go to edit footprint. In
Okay.
about 2016, 2017, they added the ability to double click. Look at this from the top view. Yep, click on your cube. There you go. So which way are you going to make all this stuff slope?
Just outward from center to some degree, or you can just do a pitch against one side, I guess.
Typically what you'd want to do is you'd want to get it so that it doesn't slope down to one of the faces where your garage doors are. So it's probably going to slope down to that face. That's correct. Look up at the top, right next to the red X and the green check marks, the slope arrow, correct. Go ahead and draw that. That does not have to, it's best if it starts on the purple line. It doesn't have to go all the way across, but it can. Okay, and you're just going to pick and draw a line. See that? There you go. Go ahead and do it. Snap it to that bottom line. Snap it to the bottom line now and click. And now it put the slope arrow in. Now you're going to see it's got a pretty extreme slope. Look over in your properties. You don't have the ability to set the pitch like you did before. So you have to go into the edit footprint, which we can do with the double click. Right? Pick that slope arrow. Nope. Pick the existing slope arrow. Double escape. Pick the existing slope arrow. Now look at your properties over there. Do you see the top one says specify height at tail? See, if this was a block wall, you could say, I want this to go down 8 inches or 16 inches. Or you can, there you go. And you can do -1/4, or you could do 1/4 if it's just going to be a 1/4 inch slope. And that's usually what you're going to do for flat. You don't need any of that information. That's enough. That's all it needs. Now finish, and it's going to be a 1/4 inch slope.
It's still in the wrong way, though. I need to
And
flip
that's where I'm telling you, if you picked it and just put in a minus, you could do it 2 ways. You
Oh,
could
I see what
change the
you're saying.
direction of the arrow, or you could put a -1/4. You moved your cursor too fast. And you never need to hit that apply. You with me?
Yep.
So
Now I would want a gutter here, so it's not just pouring on the door.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And those are the things that are so beneficial when you can see this in 3D. To be able to visualize that, that's why it's perfect. I love it. You're showing me that you picked up
And drawing
in
in
the
3D
3D
is
view.
really
In the
good.
3D view.
Yeah, do it in there.
Yep, and there it is. And then I'll show you a neat one if you hit double escape, because you're still in the gutter command. So anything else you pick up is going to put a gutter on. Double escape.
Mm-hmm.
And look at that thing from the front view. Hit right on the middle of the front cube. Zoom into that.
It's so tiny.
Pick on it. And hit your down arrow nudge. So you can actually lower that down a little bit. Okay. I don't know how far you would lower it, but
And you can make it bigger, right? Just edit it. Is it
absolutely. I believe there's
that's
actually a
profile, right?
I think there's actually a 6-inch one in there. If you go up to the properties, you see where it says gutter bevel 5x5. Up a little bit. That one. Nope, I lied. Yeah. But if you hit it again and say edit type. You see where it says that? Yep, pick on that. Look,
Okay.
there's a 6x6.
Duplicate first, so you don't ruin your first one.
She is correct. It's best to duplicate it, because what happens if you've already placed a gutter 5x5? Now all the ones that you already placed will get bigger as well. And see here, you would rename it to a 6-inch when you do the duplicate. You would say duplicate. And right there, you would want to fix whatever you're changing different, but we can just, that's what you would do. Right? Nope, leave it that, and then change the profile. And there's your 6x5 or 6x4. Make sense?
Yep.
That same process we're going to use over and over, that edit type and that duplicate. Edit type and duplicate. That way we can get something that is almost what we want. Like maybe those doors aren't tall enough. Maybe we want to duplicate those and put an extra foot on those doors or something like that.
Right.
Just want to get you understanding that that's how it's done. That's how we make other types of pipes and all kinds of stuff.
What material is that?
That's a good one. Go. That's an EFIS. That's right now an EFIS.
What is
Okay.
EFIS? That's what I'm saying.
So this is a good time for a real beginner level problem that a lot of people have is getting me. My daughters is we don't have the stippling, the little dots that would typically be on there. So what I want you to do is say edit type. And do you see where it says structure? The very top one says structure, and there's an edit button. That's where most of the work gets done. So if our material is not looking, what did you do? Oh, you rolled. So if our material's not looking the way we want, you see where it says EFIS, exterior insulation? Pick on that and then pick the 3 dots at the end. See little, nope, see little 3 dots. There you go. That opened up the EFIS, which is the material. So just for giggles, I want you to change the color to something a little bit better than gray. That's perfect. I love it. A purple one. Now wait. Do you see where it says surface pattern none? Nope. That's right there. That pattern none. I want you to click on the word none. And I want you to roll down to, let's see if you got, right there was one of sand. Did you see the sand? Yep. Pick that and say, okay. You can do apply, but when we hit okay, it's the same as hitting apply. You never have to hit the apply button. You see how it made it purple and put those little specks on it?
Mm-hmm. Now it looks like concrete.
Now it looks like a form of concrete, which is sort of typically how people show their EFIS. Okay?
Okay.
So, zoom out just a little bit and pick that level line.
Yeah.
See level 2? Can you make that be at like 15 foot? I want to see if your stuff is related to it. So what happens is you've related all of that stuff to your level 2, but you don't really use the level 2. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times in a shop like what you're drawing, you'll build a mezzanine, the area above the office where you're going to store your tires and stuff like that.
Yep.
That might be what your level 2 is. But what we really would like to have is another level for where your roof is. So if you could go to a plan or elevation view, go back to your plan view and click on one of those houses. What I want to do is actually click on one of the side houses so we can see the slope angle of the roof. There you go. What I want you to do is I want you to draw another level up there at the top so we can put our framing in this thing. So do you remember how to draw a level? It's on there. It's at the very end.
There it is.
Right? And you can either snap to the top. I would snap to the bottom one of the roof, the bottom edge of the roof at the low slope. Yep, right in there. Yep. Perfect. Perfect. It escaped 2 times because you're still in that command. Remember, you'll just want to get used to having your hand over there. Now, it is a good idea to have that thing in the same shape as the other one. You see how it drew it? Go back to your south elevation. Yeah, no, that's one way to get to it. Remember, those tabs are across the top. Pick it there. You pick that level line. And grab that thing and take it over there. Now it'll make much more sense in your 3D view.
Right.
And to be honest with you, if you go to your south and your west elevation, what's really a good idea is to bring all of those level lines in close. And you're going to find you only need to move one of them, and it'll bring all of them. Now, notice how the words are inside the bubbles. Do the same thing on the other side. Leave room for the words, because when we look at it in the other direction, that's it. Do that same thing to the south.
It brought all of them, I think.
It did, but it didn't do it in the south direction. See, there's two different directions. There's a north-south direction.
That says 2D, doesn't it? Is it 3D?
Not anymore. It snapped it this time.
Oh.
He missed it the first time.
Yeah,
There you go. See, now in your 3D view, everything will be much tighter. More importantly, all of your elevations and your sections, when you cut them, will make more sense. So let's go to the structure toolbar. All right. So go to your level 3. We would like a floor plan. Actually, there's probably a structural floor plan. You see the structure in your browser? Nope, in your browser. Come down to your browser, buddy.
What do you call the browser?
That's your properties. Down below that is your browser.
Project browser, gotcha.
Right. And scroll back up. See structural. Go to that level 3. All right, so some interesting stuff happens right here. Okay. This is a structural, well, that's a lie. It's actually an architectural type floor plan. Over in the side in the properties, I see the word architectural versus structural. But the gist of it is this is where we're going to start to do our framing. So typically what we do for a frame is I tell people to draw the beams around the perimeter of this thing. Right? So if you go to the beam command, that's it, beam. There you go. What's going to happen is it's going to try to draw this wide flange beam. And I know that I love that dotted, where the dotted line is, that's where I want you to draw. That's it. Pick. There you go. And now you're going to do the same all the way around. Perfect.
Okay.
Why do we not see anything?
Structural?
You drew him. It's gonna be his view range, and I wanted to get him into that. So part of the problem is, first of all, you have a roof, so it's probably hiding everything. Can you pick that roof? That's the gutter. That's the roof, and do a HH. That's going to temporarily hide it. So we're still not seeing our beams. So let's go down to where it says 1/8" scale and change that from a coarse to a fine. Because one of the things you're going to find out.
And you have to be in coordination mode to see beams, right? You can't be in architecture mode.
No, you can be in architecture. Beams will show up in architecture. But what's happening is his walls are hiding those beams because his beams are actually in those walls. See how when he picks it? No, that works.
Yeah.
That works. That works. Hide those other walls too. So those are the beams that you've drawn.
Right.
So let's finish drawing our beams. Now, I'll tell you, a mistake you made when you drew those beams is you drew one from the bottom to the top and then one from the top to the bottom. It's very important the direction that you draw. When you draw beams, you want to either draw them all by clicking on the bottom of your screen and going up, Yes, it does have that ability to now make those match. So as long as those are matched, that's what I was trying to tell you.
Yep.
Now, what I want you to do is I want you to draw the beams going horizontal. Yep, that's what I want. That's exactly what I want. When you do that, I would pick the end point of the short one. I wouldn't pick the midpoint. Oh, okay. You're gonna
I
have an
see what
extra
you're
bay.
saying.
Yep. I thought you were going the other direction. Okay, now that could never happen because those two long beams can't go all the way across. So that middle one, delete that middle one. No, that one. Delete that. Draw this time. Go from the one. No, the end. The short beam. Go from the short beam, and hit that. Now go from there again. So hit escape one time. You're just getting those direction arrows are going to get messed up the way that you're doing it there. And there. Perfect. I love it. Okay. See, because generally when we draw beams, we make these little bay areas. And what do we put in those little bays? We're going to put either rafters, joists, those type of objects. And that's going to be real important because that's going to be the next object that we draw. So you got to drawing beams. I'm going to show you how to slope them and do other things like that. And it's going to be real cool. But you got the beam under your belt. And we go ahead and escape 2 times. Get me back to that structure menu. I'm looking at the toolbars across the top. So the first one is beam. The next button over is wall, which we already learned in the architecture. It's the same thing. The next button is a column. Same thing as in the architectural tab. The next one is the floor. Same thing as the architectural tab. The next one I want you to draw is a beam system. We're going to skip the truss and the brace. Now look at what happens. Look. Now, look at what we're saying up top. It's saying you're using a W12 by 26 beam, justified by center, fixed distance of 6 foot. Let's change that to an open web joist. So you see where it says W12 by 26? Nope, across the top. You can change it there. Yep. So what we want is we want to put, because they're not going to put actual beams in there, they're usually going to put open web joists. Plus, I want you to learn how to draw an open web joist. So you're going to need to hit escape 2 times. You're going to need to try to draw a beam. And you're going to say load family. And what I need you to go down to is structural framing. And then I want you to go to, I think, steel. It might be light gauge steel. You can check it.
Okay.
There you go. Right there he is. They're going to be a K series. See the K series bar joist? One of those 2. Pick one of them. Now, this is where a structural engineer is going to typically tell you that's a 12K1 or a 14K1. Why don't you get the 12 and the 14? The 12K1 and the 14K1. Perfect. Control. Use your control button while you're clicking on the second one. That's going to load those 2 into your project. See, now you could actually draw one of those bar joists, right?
Right.
Now hit escape 2 times. Go to that beam system. There you go. Change your spacing to 4 foot from the 6 foot. And there you go. Boom. Put it in. Do your next one. And that's typically how we put. Now, the beautiful part is those are called beam systems. So you didn't have to draw every little beam and then copy it 4 foot, 4 foot, 4 foot. Pick your roof. Yep.
Looks good.
Now, what happens is it drew all that stuff in there and none of it is sloped. This is why I went to all the trouble to have you draw this in there as beam systems. So if you pick on a wall and then hit your eyeglasses and say hide category. Eyeglasses, there you go.
That's why.
You're fine. You're fine. See, that'll hide those. What happens with those bar joists when they're a beam system? Give me a little bit more of an angled view. A little bit more of an angled view. This is what's so amazing about what we just did that took me forever to figure out. That longest beam on the one end where this is all sloped to. That beam, the beam itself, come down a little bit. There you go. If you see the 0 at each end of those guys, that's the elevation of it. You could do it there, or you could do it on your screen. You could pick it one at a time. But if you change your start level offset to 1 foot, and then your end level offset to 1 foot, what you're going to find is because those are beam systems, it's telling you that it's going to slope all of those open web joists. Watch them all slope when you hit OK. You see how it sloped them all?
Mm-hmm.
And if you rotate that back around and you just raise one end, you're going to see that it has associated those open web joists with the beam that's on the end.
Right. If you move what it's attached to, it's going to follow it.
Correct. And, that might seem like something that's very simple right now, but trust me, when you have to slope a lot of flat roof, that can be a real disaster if you've drawn every one of those beams individually. They can also become related. Okay, you can get those to relate to the top of there so that they move as well. The free beams, it's just, I know that when I was doing a lot of the schools and things like that, and I couldn't slope all that open web joist. It wasn't until I figured out I wasn't drawing things with a beam system. Now, if you go back to the open level 3 that you already have, the tab across the top, the neat thing about it is that we can tag those as what's in that bay. Just for right now, hit escape 2 times and go to the annotate tab. The annotate, yep. Do we not have, yep, it's right up at the top. Right next to symbol is span direction. And does it say beam system right below that? What does that say?
Beam system symbol.
Yep. And if you pick that and go hit one of those, you see what it says? It says, nope, yeah, it would go on the one that you picked up top. It was the top bay, right? And then you would pick. And you see it's telling you that you've got that 14K1 at 4 feet on center from that area to that area.
Right.
As opposed to if you do a tag of any of your other beams, where this is just going to be a tag by category. So yeah, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. Now go to the tag by category up across the top. Come back. Nope. It's the big one.
No.
Tag by category. Just there you go. What you're going to see is this guy wants to tag each and every beam.
Not cover the whole system.
Not the whole system. And typically that's how structural people draw. Now, it's putting a leader on it right now. Can you take the leader off?
What do you mean?
Nope. Go back to your tag by category. Now look across that top area. It says leader. There you go. We're going to call that the speedometer area. Okay. So what happens is now you could put those tags on your perimeter beams, and that would be typically, in other words, the beams out around the edge that your beam system went to. Take the leader off. Go up. That's it. That's what we're looking for. That's how a drawing typically looks. Now, when you go over and do the ones that are going up the page, what do? Yeah. Right, and that's pretty close to how a structural steel frame plan is going to look.
Okay.
I see two beams that you missed. Do you see the two? That one right there and the short one on its other side. And see, the idea is we can go back and then size those, and those tags will automatically fix. The same thing could be true. Let's say that the north section where
Mhm.
you got those bar joists, can you pick that beam system? Hit escape 2 times. And your choice whether or not you want to save. All right. No, that's not the beam. That's the beam system. You see it? All right. See, so when you pick, right, you see the fixed spacing is 4 foot over there on the side in the properties?
Yeah.
Change that to 2 foot and watch what your tag does. See, not
Oh.
only will it put it in there, it will fix the tag as well.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. So if you go back to your structure tab that we're trying to get through today. So that's the beam system. The connections are at the end. If you zoomed into one of the corners, I would do that corner is a good corner. So if you pick one of those beams, nope, yeah, that's what it's going to do. You got it. It's trying to put in a connection. I don't want to go that deep into structural at this point. What I would like you to do is hit escape 2 times.
Yeah.
Pick one of those beams. Nope, that beam. You see the little caret at the end? That's the extension. That's not the one I was wanting. How did they do that beam join? Go back to your structural tab.
Is it already connected?
It is connected, but I'm saying, what if we want the one going vertically up the page to be the long one? Right? You see how those haven't connected very good. That's what most of that structural connection is. The reason those aren't connected is if you go into 3D, they're not in the same location. Pick the first one. Yeah, see?
Oh.
Right? You would need to pick that beam that's hanging low, the beam that's hanging low, that side one. Do you see that little 0, 0 on there?
The
Not that one.
offset?
Not the up one, the upper 0, 0.
Yeah.
Click on that. And what did we offset that? Was it 1 foot or 2 foot? Try 1 foot. Now those two things should join together because they share a point. And how they join together is what that connection thing is all about.
Right. Oh God.
Very nice. But now the joist, the beam system needs to be fixed.
So,
No.
oh yeah, yes. What happened? No, don't fix them that way. Don't fix them.
I know.
that way.
I'm just looking at it. I'm not fixing.
It's funny because what happened is when you added more pieces to the spacing, those new pieces that got added when we went from 4 foot to 2 foot,
They weren't already.
they weren't in the right spot. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Pick the one long beam, pick it. You remember we did the start level offset and the end level offset to be 1, change them back to 0. Trust me, knowing this will benefit you. Put a 0 in there, do the other one, go to your screen. Good. Now change them both back to 1. See, so what you have to do sometimes is when there's a beam system and you made a change to the beam system, you might have to lower the beam that supports them, and then raise it back up. And do you see how it fixed your problem?
Yeah, it grabbed on for me.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Now,
So,
one thing is, this is opposite of the slope as the roof currently, is it not?
well, I figured I'd let you fix all that stuff. So that's
Oh,
where
okay.
that's where you get to do that repetition. We don't want to make it all.
Okay, I was
right.
just making sure you knew what you did to me.
I mean, you do understand that's where the name of the software comes from.
Revise it. Revit.
Revise it, Revit,
Right.
Revit, because that's what we call them. What's the latest rev of the drawings? We're on
God.
Rev 12. We're on Rev
No, we're
13.
at 13. I was going to say, they're probably
Yeah,
working on
right.
16 right now.
That's where Revit comes from. Because here's the problem.
Rivet. Rivet. No.
With CAD, you can actually draw stuff probably a little bit quicker with CAD. But what you can't do with CAD is revise things. It becomes an absolute nightmare. And that's one of the big problems with this project is the two disciplines that are in CAD, they're not catching up with Rev 10, 11, 12, and 13 very easily. It's very difficult for them. Okay? That's just a little tidbit of an information. Now,
Just a little 2 cents.
exactly. Now, what you didn't draw is, remember we got that one beam. If you go to that level 3, go to your level 3 tab. So we're looking down on the plan of this guy. You know that W12 by 26 that's running through the middle of the building?
Yeah.
We would need some columns in there, at least one column
It's
in the
right here
middle,
in the center, roughly.
right? And this is where you would notice that you're putting in a structural column. Typically, for the average office building or something like that, we would have a bunch of column grids already drawn. But in this case, you only have one column. But I want you to notice they have the ability to do a slanted column, or you could put them at your architectural columns, or you could put them at the grids. I'm just trying to show you that's there, but I want you to put that in the right. Now, the weird thing about when you do that column, right? Even though you were on level 3, this is a little tidbit that most people don't get. But structural engineers, no, you would not drag that. We will not do that. We will fix that. We will fix that in a second.
It seems like you never drag anything with structural. It's always plugging in the numbers, it seems like.
Well, the one other thing about structural is when an architect draws a column on his floor plan, that column is going up. So if he's in the first floor and he draws a column, that column's going up to the second floor. But when we were in level 3 and you did draw column, I wanted you to see something what happens when you do a draw column. So pick column again in level 3. Notice what it says right there on your speed limit bar. Notice the second thing says depth. Right? See, now it would be going down to level 1 if you put one in there. But when you did it, it was only going down to level 2. Okay. So you're going to try. I like that. Uh-huh. But what I want you to understand is structural people draw a column going down to the next floor because it's supporting the floor that they're on. That's
Right.
a little thing that a lot of people don't pick. Now, honestly, Tyler, if you were drawing that as a column, it wouldn't go down to the first floor. It would probably go 2 feet below the floor.
Right.
So
'Cause you
pick
gotta
that.
actually get
So
in
pick
there.
it. So pick that column you've already placed, and right there it says it's going down to level 1. You see the base offset. See the base offset -2 foot.
Shit.
Yep. And I love the way it remembers the delete command, so it deleted your column. Well, no Mikey and no Jason. It can't do 2.5 feet. You'd have to wipe out the inches if you were going to do that.
Gotcha.
That it'll do. Right?
There
And
she
see,
is.
and see what ends up happening is if we went to our level 1 now, do you know what would go at the bottom of that piece of steel? A
Lots
footing,
of footing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
correct? And what kind of footing is that? Yep, you were there. You're there. Look, right past connection is one called foundation. That's a wall, and there you go.
Yep.
Say yes. You're gonna have to go down to structural foundations, and you're gonna want a footing rectangular. The first one. And now if you pick right on the center of that column,
Right there.
yep,
Okay.
notice what it says.
I'm saying I can't
No.
see it because it's under the floor.
Well, more importantly than under the floor, you're in an architectural plan. Architects think everything is from the floor up. When you're in a structural foundation plan, they're looking down below. But I would bet if you went to your 3D view, there'd be a footing right at the bottom of that thing,
Yep.
right? Now, we did turn down slabs, but a lot of times, if the wall is a real tall wall and it's a brick wall, then we don't put the weight of that brick onto the wall. So if you would take, reset that guy and just draw me a free wall somewhere in the middle or outside the building. You just draw another wall. Yep.
Negative 15. Is that what it's saying?
No, it's even worse than that. Look what it drew. Look what it drew that wall. It drew it with a depth of 15. So Misty's right. It actually drew it down. Pick that
Remember
wall.
stuff.
Pick that wall, delete it. Go
Revit
back
has
to
a
your
mind of
floor
its
plan.
own.
Now listen, don't use that wall. No, double escape. Double escape. Go to your architecture tab and use that wall.
Oh, it's a structural.
Because when it's structural, it goes down and your view's not showing the stuff going down. So
Right.
just draw me a little wall. Actually, make a little room out there. Just a little square is fine. Good. Good. We're going to pretend those were exterior walls. So now if you go to your structure and you go to a wall
And just trace
foundation.
the same lines.
No.
Foundation.
Nope. Hit escape 2 times. Wall foundation. There you go. Now you just pick the walls. And it just told you couldn't see them. But if you went to your 3D, you would see it actually put the wall foundation under there.
So I need to do that with
Wow.
this.
Yeah. We did the turn down slab in the other one.
Right. And you would typically will not have a turn down slab and a wall foundation. You won't have both.
Right. And which one's cheaper?
Plain.
It
I don't
depends
know.
on it depends on your soil bearing conditions, to be honest with you.
Right. Whatever
I mean,
structural designs too.
it depends if you're in a real sandy location. There's a lot of things that have a bearing on whether you're using a turn down or whether you're using a wall foundation. Usually it's what the wall's constructed of. If it's a stone wall or a brick wall, then the wall's going to have a lot of weight and the slab can't support that. That makes sense to you. But I want to just bear with me and look at your actual StreamYard real quick, because I want to show you something. So we went to structure and we did a wall and we go here and we go here. Okay. But what if this land is sort of like sloped? And what if the bottom of this wall here is like a walkout basement. So in other words, this wall is steeper down here like that. Maybe I even come down here and say it actually goes down minus 8 feet. Okay. So what happens is you would never dig this wall this deep and then try to put a footing up there. What we do is we do a stepped foundation. So this is worthwhile for people to see if anyone's watching the structural. What I would do is I would go into edit this profile. And what you would actually do is you would step up 2 feet, then you would probably go 4 feet, then you would step up 2 feet, and then you would probably go maybe 6 feet, and then you would step up 2 more feet, and then you would go 4 feet, and then you would be at the elevation that you need to be to close up. So watch what happens with the wall foundation. Okay. Realize you can see the piece that I had sticking there before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. It sets that footing as it goes with it.
That's what I've seen in backyards and just looked at it and thought, what the fuck?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now, I will tell you that engineers, the structural engineer is going to want you to pour something in here so that they can pour all this at one time. And we will show you how to do it. But if you're like watching this right now and wishing you knew how to do it, the trick is to make that information the same material and join it, and it will actually join. But the idea is if you wanted a stepped foundation, that would be a way to make a stepped foundation. Hey, Eric. Oh, you're on that
Lord.
view. Jump your view back.
Me?
No, Tyler.
Oh.
I gotcha.
He's still sharing the bad one. It'll
sharing the
suck
bad
you
one?
right in. So, what do we got left on the structural that I want to talk about? I do not want to get into a structural slab. That's typically going to be at the bottom of an elevator pit, or if you got a real large, they have some structural slabs. You know, one of the ones they used on the job we're working is they actually put the structural mat foundation for where the tower crane was going to sit. That's what a slab would typically be. Something that's going to be a very large piece of concrete that's going to support a whole lot of weight.
Gotcha.
And the reason that would be that is the reason we got to make those things concrete the right way is for that next area, which is the reinforcement, which is the rebar, the area, the path. And we're not going to get into any of that right now. We're going to then see the next object that's out there on that tab is the component, right? And that's going to be identical to the component that you were using on the architectural tab.
That's why it's still pulling them up.
Right? It's going to be the desks and the lights and all that kind of stuff, or the structural objects that you would actually have in your library.
Like
right?
what? What would you put in structurally? I guess. I mean, it's beams and columns in structure, right? I mean, I guess.
Anything else that's a structural responsibility that isn't one of those things. It's the same as it is with the architecture. You know, anything you're going to draw that's not a wall, a door, a window, that's what a component is.
Yeah.
It could be those stiffeners. It could be.
Okay.
It's a good question, but you got me short-handed. It's something that structural needs to show on their drawings that isn't covered by the previous things. That's why they add that component. See, most of those things you're going to end up drawing with this other structural commands. It's a good idea where you're looking, Tyler, but that's not really what the component, that's not really what they're thinking about for the components.
Right.
So go ahead and hit cancel. Let's check the rest of that tab. I think the rest of them are repeated commands, right? Component. Then we get into model text. Then we get into model line, which we tell you don't ever do. Those same shaft openings.
I thought you said use model line for everything.
Give that a try. And then you'll notice you're out to the work planes.
Yeah.
So in all honesty, we've covered the majority of your first 2 tabs. I love that you're working in trees. I'm going to show you something really cool with the trees.
Here, I might go warm up some food real quick. I might tab out for a couple minutes.
That'll be fine. I'll jump over.
All right.
I got you.
Just a moment.
So I'm going to show you something about trees and materials.
And people, hopefully. I like to have people in my Revit model.
I wouldn't recommend that. If I was doing people, I would be doing those with twin motion.
I know, you just want to show the representation of stuff sometimes when you put a person in there. It's nice. I've been noticing people have been putting them in. I don't know where they're getting them
You
from.
know what? We could make some entourage families that'll work better to give you some people if you're looking for scale purposes. I'd be glad to put that into one of our next week's sessions. But he started placing some trees, and I just wanted to show this technique.
Cool.
Because most people don't know about it. Let's see. So if I put a couple trees in my job, and maybe one of these, and maybe one of these. And you're trying to get this thing to look like something for people to see. TW. What most people don't understand with the trees that you can really get to help them out so much is an object style. And we're going to go back into this again, but the idea is if you were to go to the manage object styles and you were to come down here to the planting and you were to come out here to the material and you would simply make a brand new material. Typically, you're going to find, we're going to go over this again and again, but typically I go to my default material. I duplicate that one, and I would call this planting. What I found was if I pick on that material, give it a color of a green, and then give it some transparency, this makes trees look so much better.
And transparency. Okay.
And a transparency. And why didn't it do it? Let's see. Planting. Object styles. Oh, because I did it to parking. Control C. So if I come down just a little bit to planting, if you put a transparent green, it can make your planting look so much nicer for your view instead of those stupid gray symbols. What do you think?
Gray.
You like that, huh? Eric, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. I was eating. That's why I had it muted.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we got pretty close through the structural. The steel, I've never done. It looks like the steel has the same connections in it. And it looks like it has more to do with plates and bolts and welds and corner cuts, coat, skewed, shortened, contour cut, how the beams are coped, mitered, cut through, cut by. Some pretty cool commands. They've added those since I've worked with those structural engineers. So I haven't actually used those. So in all honesty, I think we'll end up coming back to them. Well, we're 2.5 hours into this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My stomach's growling.
Ginger, you got everything drawn that we got? Check her, see if she's still there. We put her to sleep. Poor Ginger's nodding off, sleeping, thinking about working hard tomorrow.
She gets to drive next time.
Yes, she will be driving next time.
So Brian, in 25, there's a
Show me.
tab.
Show
There's
me.
show
Show
you.
me.
Okay. Oh, gotcha.
Couldn't find the unmute button. I am here.
I'm glad to hear it, but you heard what Misty said. She's going to want you to draw something for next time. I'm hoping you're drawing.
I'm
So
fiddling
you're on the
while
steel
you're talking.
tab.
We just did the structure. That's the steel tab, correct?
All right. You see what's beside it on this one?
Precast.
Yeah.
That's probably for those,
And then let me show you one other thing that I've stumbled across right out of the gates. New file.
They no longer have architectural.
And those are the two that are here. And I went looking for it, and it does not exist. There's a mechanical and a plumbing, but no architecture.
They got rid of it in 24. I couldn't believe it because I've always used that template.
Wow.
So and this thing is back. I love it. This thing won't go away now.
What crazy icon.
So I see they fixed all that in the interface.
Yes, they have, haven't they?
And this is what I was telling you about these things. See, now you can just click one and pull an individual one, and it actually does lock it in there.
Yeah, well, you know what else you can do? You can draw your column lines and have your column lines show up.
In here?
Go to a plan view and draw your column lines in. Draw a couple column lines.
Oh yeah, no, I know. That showed up a while back. I was using that at Rosenden.
But it's a little
You know,
tricky.
Is that how it appears in the plan view on the left? Because that's what we got a new template.
Yeah, this is what they start you with here in the view, not the sheet views.
That's a scope box.
I hate scope boxes. I just want it to say plan view and that's it. Nothing else.
So yeah, I don't know how much we'll need to get into that, but you wanted me to do grids.
Yeah, see, they're automatically showing up in the 3D view.
And
Like
they will also show up in. Wait a second, they should be going up the pages.
Nope. They only show them on one level in that view.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And you can tell them what level to go to. That's one thing that they definitely have improved that I wish I would have the new software for.
Well, I'm just in the viewer at this point, so.
Yep. So you don't want to spend a whole lot of time building. So you said it has precast after that. All right.
I'm guessing this was something that because it looks like it's the most important thing here is the export out to whatever service so they can do their calculations would be my bet.
Yeah, it's real structural. It's about that wall reinforcement. It's about putting all that reinforcement in so that, and I would bet that would be not just precast as in what we think about where they cast it somewhere else and then they bring it onto the site, but I believe that would also help you a lot for tilt-up panel construction.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe we'll get Mr. Carrera on here at some point. So that gets us to the systems, which I'll be honest, I don't want to get into today. What do I want to get into? How about, let me ask you this, Misty. Did you notice on the email that I sent you?
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice I had a little thing called a YouTube channel on there?
I did. It went right to it. It's perfect.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not really perfect. Tyler, I'm assuming you're there, but eating? Nope, he's not back yet. This is where I'm envisioning we need to make this rogue YouTube site I also want to have my Vimeo. See if it's remembering me. I'll log in. Log in. And it'll take me to it. It's good. Yep, it has found it. So I'm going to want to download a lot of my library because you'll see, right? We've got all of these videos on how to do all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah.
I forget how many it was. Let's take a little gander. There was
Oh, yeah.
oh, they changed this. So I'll have to play with this a little bit. But
All
first,
right, back.
longest, shortest title to AZ. I'm glad you're back. Because what I was talking about was I've included that on the email. I included my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I want you to fix for me this week. I
Uh-oh.
want to get a rogue YouTube channel, and I want to get a rogue Vimeo account, and then I'm going to want to download most of the videos from my account and put them into that rogue. You see how these all say YB for your BIM?
Nope.
Oh hell, you're probably not seeing anything because I'm not on the screen. Thanks for telling me, guys. So this is my current YouTube channel. This is what I want to end up being the rogue channel.
You should be able to just edit that account.
What's that?
You should be able to just edit that account. You shouldn't have to make a new one.
I don't think I want to edit the account. I want it to, because this is tied to my email and all that stuff. This is
You
where
can change
I'm
the email on it. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I get you. I think I want to leave these guys alone, and I want to start all of this anew next week with a rogue YouTube, a rogue Rumble account, and a rogue Vimeo account. Okay? This is all starting from the idea of you getting me and all of us rogue email addresses.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Thank
pretty
you,
cool,
Kevin.
Eric. What are you looking at?
Huh?
I can see something on Eric's screen that looked pretty cool. Looked like a bunch of colored dots. He's on mute because he's eating. But this is where we're sort of deviating away from Revit a little bit. And I want to talk about the idea of what I want to end up happening. So this is where I need your help to help me set up that rogue account, that rogue dot. Now, I know you don't, the one you don't like with the 4 in the middle of it.
Yep.
And I want that same thing set up for YouTube and Vimeo and Rumble and an email account. And you and I will talk, and I will give you a credit card number to put that stuff against. Okay?
Okay.
You think that's something you can complete during the week?
I'm gonna have to start that website before I can start the rest of it. If I tie it all to that email,
That's what I
have to get
figured.
the website done, then the email, and then the rest of it.
That's exactly what I figured. Do you think that's a doable by the end of the week? Or do you think that might take 2? Because I do want to start putting these live streams up on that location. Well, obviously, I'm going to have to do my StreamYard as well, but I'm about due up. My year's almost up anyway, so I want to switch over. So,
Right.
but you're saying once you do the
I'm not sure how long the website itself is going to take. That's going to be the longest. The rest of that will all be done within 24 hours of the website being done.
all right. There's a pretty cool one. Let's see what this says. So, of the 2 hyperlinks that were included, can you hear that? In the email. You probably can't hear that
Yeah.
too clearly. You can hear
Mhm.
that clearly?
I don't know.
It's a little fuzzy, but
Yeah,
this is
you're
where I would
louder.
say Discord would be great.
Can you show me a little bit of the Discord?
Yeah.
This is where I want to sort of mix up. We did an hour and a half, or 2.5 hours of training. I want to take a little break and talk about what this group is going to look like. So show me some of this Discord.
So this is, I don't know if you're okay. Yeah, you're on. This
I
is
was on
just
your
I've spent 5 minutes creating this. You have a voice channel. So let's
Okay.
say I join this voice channel like I am right now. Anybody that comes in here can hear me. You can start an activity. You can watch videos together. You can play little stupid games if you want. But I mean, the point is you can watch videos together, basically. You can share your screen. Same thing. You can share your web camera. So let's say I'm streaming your StreamYard to Discord. And then you can have text channels. And then here you can put your announcements for the week. Okay, you're going to do this meeting today, 4 to 8. Okay, you had something coming up. We're changing from 2 to 6.
Gotcha.
You can schedule events in it. Everybody that joins this server is going to have access to all this information. And you can see kind of how what you're having to do is you have to stop sharing my screen to share your screen. You can have 3 screens up on here at once, and everybody can see all 3.
Oh,
Yep.
I like that.
So I'm just going to go into one that's already built. For example, this is called the Sherpa Hub for a video game server. And you can see in here, they just throw the announcements every time there's something changing. The amount of people that you can have in here is insane. I mean, it just
All
keeps
those
going.
people,
Yeah.
those, is that the people that are actually on right now, or the
So
people
the
that
green,
have access to it?
this is everybody that has access to it. But if you look, this red means they're online, but they're on Do Not Disturb. This yellow means they haven't touched their computer in like 2 hours. The green means they're actively online in here. And I mean, this is an insane amount of people.
I like what I'm seeing.
And then this tells you your roles, what you are. If you're just new here, you're experienced, you're a Sherpa in their eyes. So a Sherpa in this would be the same thing as like what you are in your own server. You're the moderator, you own it, etc., etc. They have welcome rules, communities you can join based on this. So if somebody wants to make their own server and be like, hey, doing a little stream tonight, gonna have 20 people, you can join theirs.
Gotcha.
And then they have specific info for certain maps. So say you're all working on the same project, you can all put casino. You can all share projects together in the casino, what you've done, what you found as issues, and it just posts it for everybody.
So when we receive some kind of comments of something that we have to do, we could put it in that one spot, and then someone could communicate with us and say, I'm going to do the ceiling plan. And Ginger could say, I'm going to do the floor plans. And Misty could say, I'm going to do the exhaust hoods. I like it. I like what I'm seeing.
Yep. And then you
I'm
come down here.
I'm going to need a little hand holding. It's still a little scary because it's not a format I'm used to.
I understand. It's a lot to learn at first, but once you're in it, it's a cakewalk. And so these are all channels. These are all one-on-one sessions, as you can see. They're open channels. Nobody's in there. And this guy, for example, is teaching this guy how to play this video game right now. That's what that is.
But you don't have permission to see that.
No, it's a locked server. Only he can bring people into that channel. So if you wanted to do a one-on-one with somebody and teach them something or have a, little chit-chat about something you have an issue with them or whatever, you have a locked channel where you can talk to them.
I want to include this in getting up to speed, most definitely, because this would give us the ability to right now, let's say Jason and Mike got onto this stream and they wanted to talk about the exhaust hoods. They might break out into another stream, into one of those rooms, and be able to share that information and then come back to the main stream when they're done taking care of a task.
Exactly. And then these are all just chat channels where this one's built for 2 people, this one's built for 3 people, this is 4 and 5, et cetera, et cetera.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool.
So it's all
you say the first step is getting the actual web domain.
Yes.
Okay. Then
And I built this one 6 months ago when we first made the name Rogue United, and I just made a general channel, a voice channel, and then your podcasting.
Hold on, I turned your thing off. Hold on. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you think we can? I think we can just shove the StreamYard straight to here. I'm pretty sure. Like when I go into,
Well, what would actually, my idea for this is we're all in here actually doing it, and you're recording it on StreamYard. So nobody has to click a new link by email every weekend. You just say, hey, hop in the channel, and I'm going to record it to StreamYard and then upload it to YouTube.
oh,
Wow.
I like that. I like that.
And there's
What is
tools to this that I haven't even touched. Like, I don't even know what
What
this
what
is.
is the little Revit icon down your left screen? Yeah,
This is the icon that I made your channel currently.
I
These are
got
all
you.
servers I'm a part of.
Now is that your actual computer is hosting that?
No, this is all server based, and you can actually pay extra. Like this Sherpa one, I'm sure he pays extra. This little icon right here, community server, Discord partner, anybody can join it. You pay X amount of money and you get extra features. I'm not even sure what they are.
Awesome. All right.
Like this
all
is
right.
one that my brother created for all their video game buddies. They all play World of Warcraft together. Gaming, music, random, World of Warcraft, Diablo. It's just where they all go because these are all friends and they go play in here to talk to each other and stream and whatever they need to do.
Brian, I've been doing this with
Wow.
Mitch for a little while now. He got me into playing Minecraft a year or so ago.
Do you think we can adapt this to you?
It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. You can do voice calls as well. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. I like that. I like that. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Boy,
And
that
then you
looks-
can hide the members, show the members either way. You can send each other links through here very easily. Like I think you saw on that one server, somebody shared some video. I'm not going to click on it because God knows what it is.
Yeah,
but
no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
yeah,
I like that. I like that.
yep. And there's all kinds of stuff in there. But yeah, that's why I've been trying to kind of get you into Discord because we can have this whole group session where everybody's a member. Like you said, Mike, Jason, Cody, everybody you want, basically. They can all just jump in and out whenever they see you're in there.
Well, how do you invite new members?
It's pretty simple. Like I would just hypothetically, this is my cousin Alec, and I would just invite him to server, invite him to Rogue United. And that's it. So I don't know if he's on right now, but if he sees it, he'll probably just join by instinct and see it.
Gotcha.
And then when you're in the server channel, this is what it looks like. So if I share my screen, you'll see, you can still see me if I turn my camera on, and you can see my entire screen.
Oh,
And you can have,
Okay.
like I said, 4 people all sharing their screens at the same time. So instead of you having to manually tab in and out and change who we can see currently, they can just say, okay, let's click over to Brian.
Can you choose which one you're seeing?
Yes, every single person can independently choose what they're watching.
So that means that Jason could be looking at Misty's computer while I'm looking at Eric's computer.
Yes.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I mean, I've got to wrap my head around how we're going to leverage that, but I like the idea. I like the idea of how we break into other rooms. I think that's good. I think that's real good.
Yep.
Oh, you were bringing it back. All right. All right. Well, that was a good little half-hour meander, and I'll be honest with you. I think I want to call this one early at 7 o'clock. So let's do another 20 minutes.
Okay.
All right. So we
Good.
did this deal. If you click the systems, I just want to give you a preview. That's what we're going to be covering on probably either tomorrow night or Tuesday night. That's going to be most of what you need to do the work for Century.
Yeah. That's
When
why I
that-
kind
when-
of giggled.
when-
I was like,
When that thing pops up, just hit escape. Just hit cancel. Hit cancel.
No, the save thing I need every 30 minutes because my computer, like I told you, it randomly crashes.
Oh, overheat.
So yeah, I like that. And I can't even be sure it's overheating yet. I've actually got to schedule a time. I've got a guy who's going to come through and tune my whole
Well,
thing.
I'll tell you what, since we got a little bit off track, tell Eric what you had to do to get your Revit 2020 working.
Okay. Let's see if I can actually reset it to my other account real quick.
Do you want that on the live?
Yep, I do.
Okay, so open it fresh. This is from an account where it's actually active. Like I said, I made a new email. Now I'm going to sign out and quit. Maybe. Okay. It's going to ask me to sign back in. And because I was just in an account where it was actually working, it should give me this option. It's going to tell me my thing's out of date, yada, yada, yada. Yep. Change license type. Enter serial number.
And escape.
It's not working this time.
No, that's because when you switch to the new one, this is the old one that it expired on. If you catch it before it expires, you don't have to make a new email.
I know, but what I was able to do before is I was kind of using the new trial to reset the old account before, and it's not doing it this time. Let me try it again.
I had this issue where we couldn't get it to redo it, and I don't know what it was, whether it was a couple months down the road. I went and tried it again, and all of a sudden it just gave me another month without any kind of effort. I didn't have to log in and out. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and try it, and it worked. And then the next month I was able to get it to work. And then the following month, I think I missed the day. You know, I didn't get logged in the day it needed to be shut off.
Right.
Well, see if you can get back to your one that was working.
I'm curious if Dee Dee's going to say something about me making a Revit account with their email.
Oh, I would bet.
That's one thing I don't miss about the office.
And there it was.
Yeah, when my computer crashes, it gives no warning of any kind. The
Let's
whole thing
get you
just goes
signed up
blank.
on the latest version. No activation, subscription, or trial could be found for this email address. Get free trial.
Yeah.
That's going to take me back to the website and do the dance that it never gets me there.
Well, we're watching your screen, so.
All right.
See, there was a button, and I'm wondering if it's in a specific version of Revit that did it.
I think I need to log out of my user account. I never can find it.
Because what bothered me is Brian was saying he owns this version of 2020, so it shouldn't have given me these issues when I copied it off of his flash drive.
No. That is to my serial number. So that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think your serial number is transcribing just through that software on the flash drive.
Nope. That flash drive, you could use that flash for anyone's serial number. But that flash, what I'm saying when I say I own it, is this one here. Hold on. I picked the damn help command. Don't ever pick the help command in Revit.
I literally tore the F1 button off of a keyboard because it takes so long when you accidentally hit it.
I wonder if I could get support with my real live license that I own of Revit 2020 and say, how can I fix this problem? I wonder if they would help me, because I bet they would say, I'm sorry, we don't support 2020 anymore.
Well, something else about what you're trying to do.
What I was
with
trying
the
to get to
serial
was
number.
this about. When I go to this about and I go to manage license, what you're going to see oh, can I move that? Yep. No. Oh, that's real interesting. Can't even move that window. Ah, that's funny. Watch this. Let's see. If I go to present, stop this screen, present, share this screen, share this screen, share this screen. This little window pops up, which, believe it or not, you can't move this window. This license I own. That serial number I own. When Revit 2020 came out, they said you can no longer own the software. You have to, and you probably can't see the text very good because it's on a very big screen, which is probably better for me. But the gist of it is, Tyler, when I say I own it, I own this serial number. I purchased it. And after 2020, what they did was they came to all the companies out there and they said, if you want to switch to subscription, we'll gladly take something you own and turn it into a rental vehicle. But you have to give us the car you own, and then you can rent it for a discount. And I'm probably one of the very few people that did that. But that does mean that there are some other licenses out there of people who might have had licenses that they didn't change that you could theoretically buy. But the gist of it is, after 2020, you no longer own a license. You have to constantly pay every month
$4,000 a year.
or the $3,000 a year, or to be quite honest with you, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close that and I'm going to share my other screen, present, stop that screen, present, share this screen, share this, and the entire screen. I want to share this thing. Okay. So another option, should we get a job from someone else, we could.
Huh.
Did you get it?
Maybe.
Oh, I spelled it with a J.
I can't get mine to act the same way. I don't know why.
Maybe I got it for 25.
See, I think that's another thing. I think you get a free 30 days for every version you ask for a trial for.
You do, and
Yeah.
that was and you got to understand something, Tyler. This goes back to when I taught myself Revit. Was I actually said I can't afford the software, but I could afford to buy a new computer every month. So every month I would buy a new computer and I would load the software and have another 30-day trial. And it was actually cheaper to do that than it was to purchase the software. Because you got to remember, back then you had to pay a very high fee because you had to purchase the actual software. But what I'm looking at is another option for us. Can you not pick? Oh, you got to go to this. That's what you go to. They have a new method of purchasing the Revit. So here you can see now it's more than that $300. Oh, this is for the building systems. That's why. What you can do though is you can now buy it with tokens. That was try included software.
Yeah, no, I'm a bust. It looked like it was letting me pass it on the AutoCAD site. It said it was giving me 30 days, but it's not appearing to show up. Well, wait.
Well,
It said I wasn't signed in. I wonder why. Sign into my Autodesk account.
we'll see, and that's where you want to sign in with a different email.
That's what I did.
I gotcha. Where the heck did I see that tokens? Tokens. I'll have to look that up, but I know that you can now purchase tokens.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not saying they fixed it, but it feels like they fixed it. because it's not the same as before. It used to ask for a product key. It's not asking for that anymore. It's just asking for serial numbers.
What serial number did you put in?
I never had one. I didn't put one in. I just made
Try
my email.
666.
Here, let me sign out and try.
Well, he's already got it working, don't you?
With a new email, not with my personal email, though. And that was the original account I had. So... on Ginger's, it worked because it, from what it appeared, Century just straight bought the software and never did a 30-day trial.
I'm jammed up now.
All right, so it wants to either enter a serial number or use a network license. Enter serial number, activate.
See,
Try that.
now it's giving you the product key, but the old one that we used to always use was 666 696969.
Serial number is too short.
Do two more 69. Sorry.
Says it's activating. Oops, you've entered a non-valid.
Yeah.
That was when we used to use the crack you're talking about.
Correct.
And this says, need a valid license. 30 to 70% of pirated versions of our software contain malware, which means there's at least 30% that don't.
Yeah, right?
If you're going to tell me there's a 30% chance I'm safe.
But the gist of it is, Eric, I think he can help you get it running if you set up another email account.
Okay, so I just need to go with another new. I mean, this one that I was working with is an old one. I mean, this was the one that I used the last time I tried to swap over.
Now, Brian, I ran into an issue when I made my new email this time that I didn't think of before. I'm
What's
out
that?
of phone numbers for the two-step. So I had to download an app on my phone, generate a phone number, and then link it to it.
Yeah, I think that's something I'm gonna have to figure out because I think the last time I did this, I used my wife's number.
You heard what he just said.
Yeah.
There's an app out there to allow you to do that. Tyler,
All right.
A plus.
It's called
man.
Text Now, and I paid $2 per week. I'm canceling it right now. So I paid $2 for an extra month of Revit. Long story short.
Best
That's a
deal
hell
in
of a lot
town.
cheaper that's a hell of a lot cheaper than the other
Than what
method.
they want. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And don't
Yeah,
get
that-
me wrong, if we're landing big jobs that we can put that cost on there, I'm not opposed to paying it. Like if I got a new job and they needed me to do it in 2024, I'd be paying it. But it's too hard to justify it to bring people up to speed. And unfortunately, that's what I'm looking at, is to bring you guys up to speed so that you can make that money. Now, my theory always was back then, with the 30-day trial, you should be able to start making money.
Yeah, it's just
here's this thing. It's called Autodesk Flex. And see, in that case, what would happen is we would be purchasing these tokens so that if you're actually working, because the real problem I have is, unless the job is as big as the one we're working on right now, I don't really want to be working Revit 40 hours a week. I might want to work on it 1 weekend a month or 1 week a month maximum, if that makes any sense.
So you're unlocking it for 24 hours at a time.
That's what this is doing. This is allowing you to buy the tokens, and it's like you use 2 tokens per day for Revit, and you use 1 token per day for recap and whatever the heck it is. So in other words, it's for all their Autodesk products. So it's a valid way for us to go, but at the same token, no pun intended, token, I don't know that I want to work 40 hours a week. So I don't know that I'd really be benefiting in the renting the software under their current structure. Now, that also gets us into the other question that we wanted to talk about, which is they're telling you that you're renting a seat of the software. That's where I would like to be able to say, I don't mind paying for the seat of the software,
As
I'd
long as
like-
you can use it from 9 to 5, and I can use it from 5 to 11, and someone else can use it from 11 to 9.
Exactly. Or I don't know that I'd want to be working 24 hours round the clock. So that Tyler can use it on the weekend, and Ginger can use it on Monday and Tuesday, and Eric might need to use it on Wednesday. The idea being, everything that was sold to us about Revit was you could do so much more, so much quicker. So why do we want to rent it for a month? If you can do that, if you can do a month's worth of work in 3 days or 4 days, why shouldn't you do exactly that? I think that was enough time up on the soapbox on this. I like where this is going. I do want to get Tyler to work with Eric to get him so that his software is working again. So he might be able to give us a little bit of an additional push on this project to close it out this month. Okay.
Let me ask one more thing about the laptop thing for Ginger. Is there a specific screen size that you recommend, or is it all going to work if you get a second monitor anyways?
Typically, I don't like to work off the actual laptop screen, and I would actually say it's hard for me because I've got that real high res one. Let's see what it's actually saying. This resolution is display settings. You'll see that my resolution for this one here is actually that 2560, right? 2560 by 1600. That's going to be a very expensive laptop. That's not 4K.
Well, you have to be in 2560, I believe, to run 4K.
No, you don't. No, you don't. When you plug into an HDMI, you're going to get this kind of setting. That is 4K. Somewhere in that 3600 by 2000. You'll see that both my monitors are probably set the same. See, this one's a little bit bigger. You see how that's 4096 by 2160?
Yeah.
This one's close to the 4020. You see, it's close to the size. They're both considered 4K monitors, but one's a 54-inch and one's a 43-inch. And the 54, I'll be honest, I don't generally like to work in it because it's so much real estate for me to get from one side to the other. Even Misty, you would find when she's, and you don't mind, Misty, I'm going to share your screen for a second. You're going to see even when she's working in Revit, she doesn't use her whole screen.
I do that same thing. I do that same thing to keep me from craning my neck too far to the other end.
Exactly. But I will tell you,
I have two 42 inches is what I work with, and then the laptop just sits there and is really just my email or whatever.
Correct. But notice, Tyler, that when you look at Misty's property or her properties box, do you notice how there's white space below her properties box?
Right. I know.
Whenever you are on their properties box, you have to scroll. So things are invisible to you. And that's a very big problem for new Revit users because they'll be sitting there saying, let's see, when I go back to my Revit, they'll be saying, I didn't even know.
You can zoom.
Yes, Eric, you want to show people that?
Because I'm blind. Yeah.
You can zoom your properties boxes?
You can zoom the properties box. You cannot zoom the browser, though.
Interesting.
With the control button. That started in 2020.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Hold control and mouse wheel.
Well, yeah, I know control mouse wheel's always been that, but I didn't know you could do it with that area.
Yes, you can do it with that area.
Yeah, it's too big to work. I don't like it. It's too big. I like to shrink it back.
I got a version of Revit trying to open that will not stop.
I think I just don't like my screen that big because my mouse, I'm moving my mouse everywhere and my head is having to find a bigger screen. I just like it a little bit. Not too
so Tyler, do you know how you said, are you sure you want to talk about this kind of stuff? You know why I didn't feel concerned about it? It's because of some of the podcasters I watched. And what happens is after about an hour or two, of your stream, it's like they no longer are censoring or checking. And the reason that I knew that is they would demonetize if people cursed. Well,
Yeah.
the guy would basically say, listen, let's not curse for the first hour. And then after that, everyone would curse like stormtroopers, but YouTube would never catch it.
They're fixing that currently.
If you really wanted to get into the sneaky part of it, most people aren't making it through your whole video. If you've got 2 hours of video, this is the most valuable time. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about is if while we're recording our stream, if I told you, like right now, Tyler, could you timestamp this with a chat or a comment? Could you go to a comment and add a comment right now that said something like, we're covering covering exhaust duct? Can you do a timestamp?
Join the chat, connect to YouTube. So I can't do it in the chat, but I can do it in a private message. Whereas with the Discord, I would be able to timestamp it. If you look at your private chat, I just did it.
I gotcha. So you were able to put the timestamp in there.
It's not linked, but I just typed it, and all they would have to do is fast forward.
Gotcha. In the Discord, would you be able to link it?
No, but that goes into when you're uploading it to YouTube, you would just timestamp. You can actually link it, the timestamps in YouTube when you upload the video. And you can actually divide the sections. Like, let me find a YouTube video real quick if you want to show my screen.
All right.
I know Unsubscribe does it.
You're not sharing a screen, so
let me fix that.
Yep. See, what my thought is if somebody was one of you guys that are contributing and watching, if you would timestamp and say, okay, right now he's talking about walls, right now he's talking about doors, right now he's talking about this trick with plants.
Right. So you see my screen now?
Yep.
So this is just a podcast I watch, and they do that. So if you look, they do the first 4 minutes, welcome to the podcast. Next, meet our guest. Next, Dean Harvey Weinstein story. And then you get politicians are the worst. So that's what I'm saying. You would be able to put these sections in your video when you upload them. And
Do you know how to do that? Do you know how to do that?
No, but it wouldn't take long to figure out. That'd probably be
like
one day of research.
Boy, Eric Misty,
Tyler.
Don't you wish you were young, as energetic as Tyler is?
I'm telling
I'm glad
you
he's
what,
on my
back in
team.
day,
I don't want to be young anymore.
Back in my day, I could navigate a Japanese website and find the software I was trying to crack. But these days, there must be something with age. You just lose that interest.
Well,
I think that's what it is too. Yeah, the interest, like you said.
That's what Tyler brings to the table.
Very good.
And Ginger better draw like crazy. How about Tyler and Ginger? See if you can have a little bit more of a try to have a little bit of a developed building, because the next time we get together, I don't want to go into systems. I want to go into annotate. If you pick on the annotate, go back to your Revit real quick.
I was going to open the one I did in 25.
Great.
Because the one in 2020 is that shop that I was doing. Jesus. What was this one? Yeah, I was having some issues doing this. Tried to do it the same way that we did in 2020.
Yep.
I could not get the floor to work in here at all. I don't know what it was. It did not like it. Like the tab, it was not working.
So one of the things I see right out of the gate is down there in the bottom corner where you're in your shaded view. You're not in a shaded view. You're in a realistic view. Also, they have the volume shadows turned on. Oh, no, you didn't change that to shaded again. Oh, it is. They changed the icon. Hit that button. Hit that button again. Down there. Up at the top, it says graphic display options. And I bet you if you hit the shadows, the little arrow next to shadows down below, they have cast, ambient, no, turn both of those off. And the reason I'm saying this is for people who don't have a fast video card.
Right. It's just useless generating.
It just slows everything down, which is not a big deal when you're talking with a little tiny building. But when you're talking about a building like we're currently constructing, oh my gosh, it can be an absolute nightmare.
It's double the load speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even that. It's anytime you try to orbit or do anything.
That's what I'm saying. Every single time you have to load anything, it just doubles your time. Even in video games, I turn shadows off on almost every single one.
So we'll try to go to your floor plan view. Go to your floor plan and see if you can. Let's see if we can figure out what was going on with your floor. Put it in.
Of course, it wants to work fine now. That's
well.
Awesome.
The reason is because you have that one middle wall is an exterior wall. That should actually be an interior wall, and that was why that other piece isn't getting drawn.
Gotcha.
So try to develop that and put the roof on and stuff so that we can do some annotation to it. And we could try to put these on sheets so that we can get through the annotate and the view tab. That's going to be our goal for tomorrow night.
Okay. And then one other question I had about the shop.
Ginger, do you think you can sneak a little drawing time in when you're in the office tomorrow and get a little bit of a floor plan going, a little bit of a building? We'll take that as a yes. Go ahead, Tyler.
Another thing I was going to ask is advice on doing a oil pit in this, because this is obviously basically, like I said, like a little Jiffy Lube. That's not what I need.
That's it. Isolate your floors. Go down and pick the floor.
Well, hold on. Okay, so
all the time in the world. All I want you to do is grab a floor, and then I want you to isolate that category. Isolate. Yes, the sunglasses. Isolate category.
Okay.
All right. So what we got to learn is this is sort of ironic because this is what we did with Ginger when we were doing extrusion. This is this island detection methodology. So if you double click on the floor, it's going to turn the pink lines on.
Yeah.
If you now go up to the boundary line and draw a rectangle, and say finish with your little green check
puts
box.
The hole in it. Yeah. Now I got to put stairs, and I think one of the issues I was having, which we covered already, was the levels. I just need to add another level to it.
Add another level, and then you're going to draw some little short walls from that low level to that level. You can make them concrete so you can join all that together, and then you can put the concrete in the bottom of it.
Yep.
Okay. And absolutely, the reason that I need you guys to draw is for those exact things. I need you to ask me the questions. I'm trying to put a curtain wall in the corner of my building, or I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. When I answer your question, that's going to be the real value of these streams. Is eventually I'd love to have enough people on here that they would start asking, yeah, that's great that you could do that, but can you do this? And then we can show them how they can do that.
Right.
Okay. And that's driven by trying to get this feedback from you guys. That's why I need you to, oh boy, that's brave. That's brave.
Yeah, I just had to test it.
When you remember when you go in to draw a stair, it's saying going from level 1 to level 2, and this was where you would be saying going from level sump pit up to level 1.
Right. So I have to
Right.
create that level first, probably.
Right, and you'd want to do that in either a section or an elevation. And usually, what you're going to find, hit escape. It's best to draw from the tail end. I would delete
Gotcha.
that level.
I see what you're saying.
Right? Yeah. You're just drawing that guy in the wrong direction, and that's going to be a reoccurring thing. You got it. And coming out there and finding that, and what it did was it locked that thing into place. Now you might say that that's at -3 feet, or
Oh, negative
you
12.
went 12 feet.
12. Yep. There we go.
That's going to be a little bit deep. It's probably going to be 6.5 feet, because you usually want it to be just so it just barely clears your head, right?
Probably 8 feet. You got to think about the tall boys.
Yeah, I bet you would rethink that before too long, because what you don't want to happen is you don't want to be standing on that thing and not be able to reach the oil plug.
Well, in that scenario, that's why we have little rubber or plastic stairs, little step stool.
Little step stools. All right, there you
That's
go.
what we did at Walmart. You have to have a step stool.
You got me. You got me. That's all very valid points.
And then I have to make it where you can slide the grate so you can cover it. You have to have a drain for the oil.
We'll
you have to pump the oil out.
We'll teach you how to put those grates in there. That'll be some good exercise for the materials. See, that's where I really want this to come from. I want this to come from, how do I do this? How do I do this? Like we did, we got into the materials on the trees, the materials on the outside walls, how to put that hatching on. I want to develop that together. I think this was valuable. I'll be honest, I think I'm being a little bit overzealous in thinking that we can do this at 4-hour session, because I'm feeling worn out. Is anyone else feeling worn out?
No, brain fried.
How about we all call it a day and I take my honey out to eat? How does that sound? Any objections from the peanut gallery?
No, have a good night.
I tell you what, tomorrow, call me sometime when you got a minute, and I'll give you my credit card information so you can get that domain, and then you'll have that. You just check with me before you go spending all my money, Tyler.
Yeah,
but then you can start getting all that stuff. I hear you, you smart ass. Hey,
gotcha.
Thank you guys for joining. I'm looking forward to the next 3 weeks, but I do want to punch this hard for 3 weeks just to see if we're getting any visibility. Will you do one other thing for me, Tyler? Will you check? Let's see. Was that this one? This one here. So if we go, well, that's a lie. Let me get this one. If I go to my YouTube channel, will you keep an eye on these live ones if any comments? Can you see
on
it?
StreamYard?
Yeah, well, no, this is on my YouTube channel.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
trying. What I want to do is I want to figure out if there's any comments ever being made, but it doesn't look.
It will list them when they're made. It will give you a number.
Oh, also, Brian, with you uploading this to YouTube, Cody kind of overheard you talking to me about that. How it's on YouTube, and he asked if it's on YouTube. I said, I don't know. And he was like, this is all NDA. And I was like, he thinks he's not under it. And he's like, well, he's probably going to fall under ours if some shit happens. So that's just a thought.
Yeah. What material are we really disclosing? I know Mike feels exactly the same way. The best thing I can tell you is I just plan on begging for forgiveness.
Yeah.
I can't let this keep us from moving forward. It's not like we're trying to disclose any important information on purpose. This is more intended for us to try to get users evolved, right? The user evolution. Try to get.
Yeah, I'm on the same page, but like, for example, that 2.5 hour building diffuser video you have, I know it was more than just building a diffuser, and I don't know what in it would potentially be sensitive information. Personally, I don't give a shit. I was just throwing the idea in the air.
No. I know that that's how they feel. And
Yeah.
what I've done in the past is I have had a few companies say, I don't want that up there. I don't want that up there. At which point we just password protect those videos.
Right. And something I don't think he understands is if you look at these videos, there's 6 views, 2 views, 6 views. It's all just us. It's not like random guys are finding these right now and just learning about the casino, where the vault room's going to be, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, I got news for you. That stuff's all available on the SharePoint and other locations and emails.
Yep.
There's so many other places that you could get that information.
See, they think their shit's secure, but nah.
Well, I don't want to bring up a bunch of vulnerabilities by any means. I'm not trying to cause that problem.
Right. You start pointing
But
the finger and it
I'm
starts getting
facing the
bad.
bigger question, and that is, can in 3 weeks I bring you and Ginger up to speed so that you guys can either do work for Century or do work for someone else? You know, that's really what the question comes in is, can I turn you guys into BIM people? That's my most important priority.
I think I can probably get a good grasp on it pretty quickly. I mean, I feel like I'm learning very fast here. I don't know if I am.
No,
but
I think you are. I think you're doing just fine. I think you're doing just fine.
Yeah, and I feel like if we just slowly get into the basics, like you were saying, mastering the basics before we start getting into the curtain walls and shit you were doing when I first joined in, I texted Ginger. I was like, this is fucking Chinese to me. I don't know.
Well, we're gonna get your toe first, and then when you go to put the rest of your foot in, I'm probably gonna sneak up behind you and push you in, and you're gonna be swimming.
Yeah.
So we're letting you get your toe in there first. I
got you. I'll bring us.
I think all in all, it was a good one. If Ginger can still hear me or goes back and watches this, please try to have something drawn tomorrow that we can start to do the documentation. Because I want Ginger to drive it as well, because I know she had to feel some success when we did create that diffuser, which is sort of ironic because that was the one you brought up about, oh, this is sort of NDA information. It's like, but don't you understand? Ginger felt the best that day because she was like, hey, I actually did something.
Right. I came in the next morning. She had a big old smile drawing that diffuser.
Well, I'm hoping you're getting some smiles because, yes, Tyler, you are picking it up extremely quick. Just remember, there's a lot to pick up. We got a 15-year, 20-year head start on you. So let's get that information out of our heads and into yours. I thank you for joining. We're going to do tomorrow night. Going to try our best to do 7:30 to 9 tomorrow night. We might have a pop-up stream in the middle of in the daytime to do some review work. That should probably be NDA, but like I said, if it's NDA and someone's worried about them, you just tell them we can password protect it if we really need to password protect it.
I'm just not going to bring the issue up until the issue arises.
Well, you know, all those YouTube videos are very easy to password protect.
Oh, yeah. You just make them private.
To me, we got to solve some serious problems on that project. And I want to do probably a stream with Misty to review all of that exhaust stuff with Jason. I like the way Jason said he was going to join. And then he didn't join us on Friday or Sunday. The little dog.
He's got a lot going on in his personal life. I know he's doing some medical stuff going on.
He shocked me when he said he wanted to join. Did he tell you why he wanted to join Friday night?
No, why was that?
I don't know. I was curious if he actually wanted to learn this stuff or what.
Well, he stopped me and I mentioned I was doing it. He said, yeah, I'm excited. I want to join it. Because I don't know if he's necessarily wanting to learn Revit as much as he is wanting to review the project. I'm not sure if he thinks we're working on a project in here, which, I mean, I'm sure we'll get to that point. But as of right now, we're just, like you said, basics.
Yep. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this one a little bit early. We didn't do bad. We did 3 hours and 20 minutes. Eric, thank you very much. Tyler, Tyler, just keep grinding. By August, you are going to be a BIM operator. Misty, thank you for joining us.
Definitely, Tyler. You're doing great. You'll be able to work in any engineering office. Oh my God.
Misty,
You're doing great.
come get dressed. We're going out to eat. Thank you, guys. We'll see you
So
tomorrow.
much.
We'll start it all on Monday.
All right. Thank you.
Later,
Bye,
guys.
guys.